Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey everybody, welcome. It's the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I'm here with Jason and Tyvis today. We got Mikey McNuggets, we got Anthony, we got Earl, all behind the glass. We'll get to them in a little bit. A lot to get to today on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're talking how valuable Cavs and Browns players are on the trade front. It's going to be a fascinating conversation coming up in a little bit. Steven Kwan, the great left fielder, who's been a two-time Gold Glove winner, sat down with Mikey McNuggets and myself yesterday afternoon, and you'll see that interview for the first time today, including could he transition to center field full-time and extension talks. We get into that as well. We'll get to so there's so much to get to today, but first, I got to do a big shout-out here. Mike, if you could show the picture. So this is my niece and my nephew. My nephew was just born last week. Yeah, I mean, how cute is that?
Oh, look at that.
How cute is that?
Yeah.
So my niece is Joey Alabado. She's about to turn 5. And there's my nephew. He's 6 days old. His name is Benicio, which I love that name. Benicio. That's badass.
I like that.
And Benicio Alabado. They're not my nephew and niece by blood.
I was going to say, that sounds pretty Italian.
Well, they're actually Italian and Filipino, the kids, because the dad, Mel, is Filipino, and the mom, Heather, is Italian. And they are such close friends of my wife and I that we like, my son calls them Aunt Heather and Uncle Mel, and my son, like, when we are with Joey, he, like, takes care of her like she's his little sister. So we're very close. So I call them my niece and my nephew. And my Heather, who they're also from Brooklyn. My friends Heather and Mel. They moved to Cleveland the same time my wife and I did. Coincidentally.
Oh, that was great.
We didn't know them. We met them here as soon as we both moved here. Fortunately for them, unfortunately for us, they moved to Seattle a few years ago. But we're still very close, and we go see them, and we're going back to see them again this summer. But Heather just went through a grueling labor of over 24 hours. She ended up having to have a C-section, and there was some scary moments with the baby. But fortunately, everybody's doing okay. We love you guys, and they're cute as hell. So welcome to the world, little Benicio.
It's awesome.
Thank you. So, all right, enough for that. Let's get to some sports. And before our first topic was supposed to be some trade conversation. Before we get to that, Jason put out an article in The Athletic that's so long I couldn't even finish it yet this morning, and it's about stadium. This is a conversation we've had before, but you have more information on this. Jason, obviously, last week on the show, I think it was, we talked about the possibility of them moving by the airport. But now we have new information about maybe something happening downtown after all, potentially.
Well, we'll see. I still think, and really the article is a lot of what we talked about on the show. It was just me finally sitting down and putting it in a form for my other employer.
Yes, that's right.
They kind of wanted something on it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a battle over the next couple of years, I think, in terms of what they do with the stadium. And the city's been a little bit slow to come to the table. I think they've got other priorities and other things that they're looking at. And the Browns aren't really their number one concern right now because the lease has 4 years to go. But I've talked to people who build these things, who've been part of the projects. And they said, you have to go now. Like, you got to do this now. Now is the time. We're 4 years out from the end of the lease. And if you go look at Minnesota, when they built the dome, they passed legislation in 2012 and the stadium opened in 2016, 4 years out. So now the question becomes, and really the story that I put out today was just like, hey, they're serious about this dome. Like, the Browns want a dome. And the idea of renovating on the lakefront is still possible because it costs a lot less, obviously, than building a new dome.
Sure.
And if they can't get the financing, then they're going to have to go back to renovating. But they're very much looking at trying to find a way to fund a dome. Jimmy was going to have to pay for half. We talked about that on the show. what I've been told is between $2 and $2.5 billion with a B.
For the whole project.
For the whole project.
Okay.
It's not a retractable roof. That's even more. So it would be a standard roof. It doesn't open and close. There are other ways to do it. Minnesota did a beautiful job. It's a transparent roof, and the doors actually open when the weather's nice.
I would assume they would do something like that.
Right? Hopefully you could do something like
that. That will be more of a cheaper route.
Well, the fixed dome is cheaper than and opening a couple doors. Trying to build a retractable roof.
Right.
But I mean, you still got to come up with funding for over $1 billion.
Right.
And one of the sources of revenue that they're looking at is marijuana, because they haven't really figured out the tax structure yet around marijuana. So everybody wants their cut. Everybody's in line right now.
That's officially illegal? Like
it is legal.
People are out.
Yes,
it's enjoying.
People voted on it. Unfortunately, I know our state representatives are trying to mess with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But the people of Ohio voted to make marijuana
so
legal.
Like today, they could go out and smoke freely and recreationally and be fine.
But they haven't figured out the taxes on it yet, so they got to figure out the tax structure on it. Gambling, I think it should be sports gambling, and they've already doubled the tax rate on sports gambling. It's up to 20% now. I think you go back and take another bite of the apple, because if you want to make the argument of people who use it should pay for it, well, who uses the stadium more than sports bettors? If you're betting on sports, you're likely
Well, let me ask you this, Jason. Clarify this. Okay. So right now, what's the tax on gambling?
20%, I believe.
So if you make a $10 bet, you're taxed. Who pays that $2 tax?
The DraftKings, FanDuel, that sort of thing.
Okay. So the fan doesn't actually do it.
No, but I mean they could pass it down to the fan through fees and whatever else.
Right.
But as of now, no, not technically.
Okay.
But the companies do. But
so where's that tax money currently going? Do we know?
Education gets a chunk of it.
Yeah.
Gambling addict classes.
Yeah.
Military veterans. All wonderful causes.
Right.
I would never allocate rerouting that money.
So
I put that in the story.
add to the tax.
Add to it.
Yeah.
Take more out of it, and you can go that route. And also, I want to make clear, like I've heard a lot of comments this morning of, we'll just make Jimmy pay for it. I agree.
We all agree with that.
I put it in there. I wrote it. I support. Jimmy can pay for the whole thing himself.
Yes.
Unfortunately, more times than not, that's not the reality. Other than Stan Kroenke in L.A., that really hasn't been. Now, that doesn't mean it's impossible, but short of picking him upside down and shaking him by the ankles and shaking $2 billion out of his pockets, if he says no, what are you going to do? So you got to come up with alternatives.
Now, the city does have, well, not necessarily the city, but there is some leverage for at least the state, because the Browns can't move out of the state.
Absolutely. You would have to put them up for sale and make them available to. It's how Jimmy got the Columbus Crew.
Right.
It's state law was changed after Modell took the Browns to Baltimore. They changed state law so that before a team can leave the area, you have to make them available for purchase.
That was a smart job.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant legislation. Yeah. So from that standpoint, yes, the state has leverage.
Right.
But if you tell them we're not going to give you a dime, go pay for it yourself. I don't know where this thing
Ultimately,
falls.
you could say, well, nobody else is going to want to own a team, too, if they have to have a crappy stadium.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, taxpayer money should never go to stadiums, but it always does. That's the reality. We can rail against it if we want.
I think there's a difference, and I think Justin Bibb was really smart in coming out and saying we're not using general fund money.
Agreed.
I think that was a smart strategy move. But, and I agree that you shouldn't raise taxes on Cuyahoga County residents or Cleveland or anything like that. But I don't see... If you're taxing marijuana, if you're taxing gambling, and a big part of the story I put out was what they did in Minnesota with these electronic pull tab games. Now, gambling is not legal in Minnesota, so that's a little bit of a difference.
Lottery is, I guess.
Well, I mean, there's a state lottery,
right?
But there's no casinos. It's all Indian and tribal.
So how did they get away with the pull tabs?
It's through charities. So charities more or less sponsor these electronic pull tab games. The charities pay the tax and keep the profits. So charities have made tens of millions of dollars off this. Minnesota made so much money doing this that they paid off $350 million in state bonds 20 years early. It was a huge success in Minnesota.
So in theory, we could have a charity. I mean, we could, in theory, have, a charity helping homeless people.
Yes.
And all the money most of it would go there, and then the taxes would go to pay for the stadium, which is a win-win.
Yeah, and these games are like they're on iPads, at least in Minnesota. It's an iPad tied to it. You can only gamble on it.
Right.
And it's like $1. It's almost like a slot machine on an iPad.
Yeah.
And you can bet 50 cents, $1 up to $5. The most popular games I was told are $1, $2 games. And you just sit while you're drinking and you're out with friends or whatever, you just sit there and you gamble.
Yeah.
And the taxes on that, the money goes to charity, and then the charities are taxed, and that tax revenue goes to stadiums.
What's the downside on that?
The downside is, what if it doesn't work?
If it's not enough. So how much did they make in Minnesota? Do you know the number by any chance?
It's in the article. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know that they made enough. The state bonds were $350 million, and they paid it off after 10 years. They paid it off 20 years early, and it's still a booming business. It's still, and now they're arguing over what to do with the money now.
Right. Well, and now listen, you wouldn't make as much money in Cleveland as you would in Minneapolis is a bigger city. It's a wealthier city.
It's statewide.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't all go to Cleveland. Like, Cincinnati's going to get a cut.
I guess you'd have to put something in the legislation that if you don't reach the number by a certain year, we're going to take 5% tax on marijuana or whatever it is.
It's 30 years. I mean, you would do it over 30 years. That's what Minnesota did. They had great success with it. But you do it over 30 years. And I spoke to the president of the company that builds the games in Minnesota. And he said Ohio would have to raise its tax. Right now they don't tax. The tax isn't very high on the charity gambling.
Yeah.
So you have to raise the tax on that. And other than that, I think it's feasible. Like I don't see a reason why. Now you can make the argument gambling is already legal in Ohio. Minnesotans don't have legalized gambling. That's why the pull tabs are so popular because you can't go to a casino. And the gaming industry is going to push back hard on this if they try and do this.
Right.
Because their fear is they're going to take money away from Jack Casino down the street and everything else.
Yeah.
And the president I talked to, his argument was, this is a completely different crowd. If you're going to go to the casino and gamble, you're going to go to the casino and gamble. These are people going to their local bar, having a couple drinks.
I don't think it affects
and you're sitting there gambling
I
while
agree
you're
with
sitting
him.
there.
I agree.
Yeah,
with him.
it's a different it's a different.
Last
setting.
thing on this, how much Ohio, the state of Ohio, I believe, wasn't it $8 billion in gambling last year?
7.
6.
I thought it was 7.
Okay, let's even say it's 6. So 20% of that. It was a 20% tax.
Yeah.
So 20% of $6 billion.
I screwed up math yesterday. I don't want to even take a stab at this today.
The Dayton Daily News I cited, and I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah.
Through October, how much money Ohio had pulled in taxes?
Yeah.
$102 million just through October in taxes.
$102 million
off gambling.
Off gambling.
Yeah.
And that's with a 20% tax.
Yeah.
$102 million in 1 year.
Yeah, through October. That's not
through October in 10 months. So let's say you added another 10% tax that strictly goes to the stadium.
Yeah.
All right, 10%. Let's say it would have been 50. That would have been an extra $50 million in 10 months. In 5 years, you're talking like 300. Probably in 15 years, that's $1 billion.
Theoretically,
and off of just the gambling, that's a 5% tax. An addition, if my math is correct, an additional 5% tax on sports gambling over 15 years would raise about $1 billion. I think.
I don't know. I'd have to.
Are my numbers off with that?
I don't want to try and play the numbers.
Anyway,
game.
It sounds feasible, and that's only a 5% tax on sports gambling without marijuana. Without
really you're trying you got to try and double what Minnesota did.
Yeah.
Because Minnesota raised 350. You really need to try and raise $700 million minimum.
Yeah, you're right.
In funding to pull this off.
That's fascinating. Everybody check out Jason's article in The Athletic if you want more information. So there you go. All right, let's send it to Mikey McNuggets.
And not just Jason's article, but tonight, the Ultimate 216 makes its second episode, and Earl's going to be talking in depth about what the city should do about the stadium situation, who should pay, who should be on the hook for it, and that conversation based off Jason's article will continue tonight with Earl the Pearl at 5 o'clock on the Ultimate 216 show. The link's already up there. You can click the Notify Me button for when Earl goes live, but make sure y'all check out the Ultimate 216 show tonight at 5 p.m. Let's get to a little Cavs now, guys. Last night, a come-from-behind 17-point victory, or 17-point come-from-behind victory for the Cavs. It was ugly in the first half. A heroic comeback in the second half, capped off by some heroics from Darius Garland, who on the last play, and I pointed this out to Jason this morning, DG kind of called off Donovan Mitchell, who had a switch on Nikola Vucevic, and took that It wasn't technically the game winner, but it was tied, hits the 3, step back over Caruso. He missed the game winner on Monday, comes back, hits the proverbial game winner on Wednesday in crunch time, in the closing lineup. How much do you think that does for DG's confidence now as he continues to assimilate himself back into this offense?
Tyvis, we haven't heard from you yet as Jason and I were yammering on, so why don't you get us going on this?
Well, before I do that, I want to, first of all, I want to take this time out to wish everybody a happy Tyvis Eve. It's a national holiday. Make sure y'all celebrate appropriately. Now,
I walked in, and Tyvis was like, what was your reaction when you turned 30? And I said, I don't even remember. It's been so long.
Well, happy early birthday,
He's
Tyvis.
gonna be 30 tomorrow.
Tomorrow, congratulations.
So, Darius Garland is the topic right now. So, Darius, it was big to see you do that. Obviously, Monday I was upset because I was like, I really wanted you to hit that. You had a phenomenal game. You seemed like you was hitting your stride again, and you wasn't able to seal the deal with the game winner on Monday. To see you come out last night, and hit that big shot, it does do a lot for your confidence because it's letting me know that you're starting to feel yourself. Like, you know, when you get injured and you out of the lineup and the team is having a ton of success, you sit there and you ask yourself, how do I fit in this lineup? Am I going to be that guy? And you start to doubt yourself. And it seems like you've been trying to get your groove back. Last night solidified it for me that you can make those big plays in those big moments. Yes, it was still a minute left in the game, but to be able to do that, to call off Donovan Mitchell, who had a mismatch, make no mistake about it. We know Donovan Mitchell probably would have scored on that play, but to call him off and go up against Alex Caruso, who, by the way, I think was first-team all-defense last year, to spin him like a top, make him have this dance and hit a big shot, I think that was big. Now, my issue is with the Cavs because in the first half, y'all did what y'all did against the Sixers. Y'all came out so slow defensively, and in the second half, y'all got to waste all this energy getting back on track. And I don't know why y'all – I don't know if y'all just toying with people to see how good y'all actually are. But it's something that I feel like can come back and bite you. Like I say, the regular season, we would say it's meaningless, but I don't want you to practice bad habits. So you got to continue to try to put together 4 quarters. I know Jason is sitting there like, oh, Tyvis, please. Nobody cares about the regular
season against the Bulls.
But still, it's just y'all exerting a lot of energy and effort. Good news is y'all showed y'all can complete it.
I actually thought, guys, that I thought it was worse than the Sixers game in the first half because, A, the Bulls are worse. Although, to be fair, the Bulls have probably been playing better than the Sixers since
Kobe White like that.
Kobe White's hot. But, however, the reason it was worse is because at least in the Sixers game, the Cavs were shooting pretty well. Like they were, and the Sixers were making a lot of tough shots. In this game, the Cavs took awful shots in the first half. They couldn't make anything there for a while, except the last 6 minutes of the first half they played well. But the first 18 minutes of the first half, they stunk. But they were bad on offense and defense for the first 18 minutes of the game.
You know who the spark of the game was? George Niang.
I don't like that guy. George
Is he
the least likable Cav?
George Niang came out there and
people love George. Beloved in the locker room.
Really?
Beloved. Everywhere he's been.
Like
beloved in the locker room.
He came out there, gave him the first lead, took somebody to the hole, got into a scuffle.
He
just brought the energy, the minivan.
He reminds me of my days in radio where you'd have this one part-time guy working who was not that good, but he thought he was better than all the full-time hosts on the station. And so he walked around like he was better than everybody else, even though he was slappy.
You think his name Adam?
Now, I was better than everybody in New York. That's 100% true. But anyway, I
think you're mischaracterizing.
He's such a good player.
Why do you think?
I don't know. He rubs me the wrong way.
I think you're mischaracterizing.
Like.
Yeah, you're way off.
Jason can attest to this. He is beloved. Beloved in the
All right, I'm being unfair. I'm going to have to change my tune on him.
Most disliked since Dion? You know, Kyrie was here after Dion.
Yeah, but Kyrie's so good, even if he is disliked, who cares? Anyway, go ahead. What did you think about last night?
I normally do, dismiss a lot of regular season stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was important to win that game because if you go back to last year, the game before the All-Star break, they got smashed in Philly. And it was just kind of like it was a sign of things to come. They didn't play as well. They were starting to leak oil a little bit. They get drilled in Philly. They got to deal with the Kevin Love situation over All-Star break. And by the end of the regular season, they were sort of exposed in the lack of shooting and the lack of playable bigs. Off that, you could see the boards.
Yeah.
And then it all came to light against the Knicks. And I didn't want this team to go into the All-Star break. You lost the game to Philly that you probably should have won. And then at home, and then if you come back and you lose to Chicago at home, and you go to the break on a 2-game losing streak, both games that you probably should have won, when they were down in the first half, I thought, you don't want to make too big of a deal about it because they've had such a great first half, but it's like, you don't want this to be like last year. So I actually thought it was really impressive or good to come out and win that game.
Yeah.
Just to get some momentum going into the break, just so you feel good about yourself. I don't know that Darius needed to hit that shot to regain his confidence. Darius is confident in himself regardless.
Yeah, sure.
But I just thought it was good for the morale of the team not to take a 2-game losing streak into the break where you got a week to sit around and think about it. So, I'm not big on regular season wins. I'm big on building good habits in the regular season, though. And it all goes back to what I said. What I didn't like about last year was they kept waiting for Donovan to bail them out. And I didn't know. I was at the game last night, but I was already downstairs, so I was in the hall, like in the tunnel, watching the last shot. So I didn't see what Mike pointed out, but he's 100% right. For Donovan, that's the play.
Donovan did the clap.
Donovan on a mismatch, that's where you want it to go. And for Darius to say, I got this. I love that because that's exactly what I didn't like about last year. You got other guys on this team who can close out games, so give them those opportunities now so that they have that confidence when it matters in the postseason. I thought it was huge. I thought it was great. Good on Darius and good thing he made it because Mike said he's right. That's the conversation in the locker room. If he misses that shot, if he missed a shot the other night,
that's right,
and he misses that shot, I'm sure there's a conversation between Donovan and Darius there in the locker room about, look what I've got. Like, give me the ball. I thought it was great that he hit that shot.
I want to add one thing, too, to what Jason said. This was a nationally televised game. And you look at how the All-Star break, the game before the All-Star break last year, and they got smacked, whatever. The Cavs had finally started getting a little more national attention. And then Monday happens, and they lose to Philly, and everyone's like, okay, fraud city. Now they're on ESPN, nationally televised game. The whole pregame lead-up was, are the Cavs for real? Is Donovan sticking around? All these questions. And if they had come out on national TV before the All-Star break where they didn't have a chance to clear the record for another week, essentially, that would have been the whole conversation again for a week. So to come out, close out with the win, at least puts, not necessarily in our eyes, but in the national scale, these guys finally starting to get the attention they deserve. There's not that asterisk next to it for the next week as they get ready for the second half. So I thought it was important for them to come back and close out the game.
They're on ESPN and I think NBA TV a couple of times when they come back.
You got the Knicks at home on ESPN, the Celtics on NBA TV, and I believe the Heat is a nationally televised game.
Yeah, they're playing the Sixers again, so they got some interesting games. I was just thinking about this compared to last year, right? They don't have that many more. They have more wins than they did the All-Star break last year.
Correct.
But not by a lot. I mean, it's not a huge difference. But if you look at it, I think about I was going through every player on the team. First of all, you didn't have Strus, you didn't have Niang, and you didn't have Sam Merrill. And all three of those guys are big-time contributors, and they're all, most importantly, something Jason mentioned when it came, or Tyvus, I can't remember which you guys said it, but all three of those guys play with a lot of confidence, too, in addition to Darius. Like, the Cavs may actually, is this crazy? That the Cavs may actually have more confident shooters, total guys that are confident shooting the ball right now than they ever had on the LeBron teams.
No.
More total guys.
No, you're getting lost in the moment.
I'm not saying better.
They had some phenomenal shooters who were incredibly confident in their shots.
But did they have more total number?
No. Like, go back to the championship team, JR.
Yeah. So you had JR. You had...
Was Kyle Korver on that team?
No.
They brought
JR, LeBron,
they brought
Kyrie
to hit one shot. And he missed it.
Yes.
The corner three at home against the Warriors. He was here for one shot.
You had J.R., Kyrie, LeBron, and Kevin Love.
The 2015 season when they won the chip?
Yeah.
You also had Mo Williams. You had Channing Frye.
Mo Gotti.
Richard Jefferson, confident shooter. Shumpert didn't make a lot, but very confident shooter. They had Joe Harris on the
Mo Gotti.
In the playoffs.
He wasn't playing in the playoffs.
He didn't play much in the playoffs. But in terms of, like, you're talking confident shooters, that was a veteran team.
Yeah.
It's different when you got a veteran team compared to...
Let me make it very clear. I'm not trying to say in any way, shape, or form this team is better in any way. I'm saying the total number of guys that are confident in shooting from the outside, it might actually be a higher number because there's more outside shooters on the team. It's in no way even close to as good as that team. I'm not saying it's better. No. Please don't clarify. Don't.
The year that LeBron won, didn't he win 60 games with the Cavs?
No. Well, they won 66 when he was here the first time when they got bounced.
Okay, yes.
And then he carried them out the regular season.
Who was the point guard that year?
When they won 66?
Yeah. Was it Mo?
Oh, God. Yeah, I think it was.
Mo Williams.
Yeah.
But here's one thing, Jason, and I'm curious for everybody's opinion on this. It seems to me clearly that Okoro, Allen, and I would now say probably Mobley too, are all playing the best basketball of their career.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Donovan.
And Donovan, yeah, sure. So, I mean, I didn't think I thought coming into this year, even with the bad playoffs, that we knew what Allen was. There was no further level, and he's gone up a little bit more. And I didn't think there was a little more for him. And Mobley's, he's not shooting a million threes, but he's
making the ones he's taking.
We have never seen Okoro this confident.
I agree with that.
Right. I mean, and that's a game changer because
he took a career high 8 threes last night.
8 threes, and
Did he really?
He made 4.
Who was it? Too. Right before Garland hit that 3. Okoro, was it Kobe White? I can't remember who it was. But he was in the grill of somebody.
Probably.
Oh, no, DeRozan.
Oh, yeah, it was DeRozan.
You're right,
it was
DeRozan. And he could not get off a decent shot. He was in his face.
Great defense. Great defense.
This is a really important postseason for Isaac.
Oh, my God.
Coming up. It is worth millions to him, literally, truly. Yeah. If he has
Jason, tens of millions.
Yeah.
Tens of millions.
If he has a good postseason, he will be he'll be cashing really big checks next year. But it all comes we talked about on the show. I've already talked to other head coaches who said you have to pick something in a playoff series against the Cavs. You got to pick something. And they're going to pick Isaac. Teams are still going to leave him open. They want him to prove that this is real and he can hit pressure shots. It's different making it in the playoffs than it is making it in February. And if he makes them I'm not saying he's not going to.
Yeah.
If he makes them, he's built himself into a viable, legitimate 3-and-D wing.
Yeah.
If he can make those shots in the postseason, oh my goodness.
Right,
it's
because
a massive
you
difference.
want to play him because his defense is excellent.
Yes.
And if he doesn't have to be, 45%.
He's shooting 40% right now on catch and shoot threes this year.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic number.
Right.
It's 42% since January. That's money.
Who he think he is? Sam Merrill?
He has got the confidence now in that shot, and I hope for his sake that it translates into April, May, and June, because if it does, it is a game changer for this team and for him in free agency this summer.
Is the best of this team. Now, we don't know that we're going to get the best of this team in the playoffs.
I shouldn't say free agency. Cavs still control his rights.
Right.
He's a restricted.
Yes.
Is the best of this team, the best that this team is capable of, in your opinion, if they play at that level, can they win a championship? Is it good enough? What's the most realistic distance they could go in the playoffs at their best?
I think realistically the conference finals is probably.
You don't think they could beat Boston?
I guess they could, but
that's
not a realistic expectation.
Right. But getting to the Eastern Conference Finals
I think that's
not crazy.
I don't think it's crazy at all.
Yeah.
No, I think they get there this year. And again, there's progressions to this. There's steps. Last year was about getting there and get your teeth kicked in and figuring it out. Now you know what it's like. Now you know what to expect. So, the real progression is to win a series.
Sure.
But I think this team's capable of winning too. Donovan is top 10 in player efficiency rating, sort of the all-encompassing NBA stat. First time in his career. He's had his 2 best years of his career in Cleveland. And I wrote something for tomorrow on, he needs to think about that when he's talking about his future and what he wants to do this summer.
Yeah.
He's played the best basketball of his career right here in Cleveland.
It is amazing. We all love him, but I want both your opinions.
Well, let me ask you this before we switch topics.
Yeah.
This is real quick. What do you think is the Cavs' Achilles heel? Is it the shooting? Could it be potentially the shooting of Isaac Okoro, or is it J.B. Bickerstaff coaching in the postseason?
I don't know. I got to give J.B. a lot of credit right now.
I said in the postseason.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt that the job he's done coaching this year will continue into the playoffs.
Okay.
I guess my biggest concern about the Cavs in the playoffs is if Okoro and Mobley lose that confidence to shoot the ball outside, and then the middle's clogged up again, and Okoro's useless because he can't because it's 5-on-4, then that would be the downside.
This all falls on Donovan. Fair or not, he has not played well in the postseason the last couple of years. And if they go far, he's going to get all the credit.
Yep.
If they flame out, he's going to take all the blame. This isn't about.
It'll probably be true.
It's not about Evan. It's not about Isaac. You could say this is unfair, and I don't know that I would necessarily disagree. I'm just telling you, no one's going to blame Jarrett and Evan and Darius if this team doesn't succeed in the playoffs. It's on him. So,
no, they will blame JB.
Well, and here's what I would say about JB, and this is the point I made last year in the playoffs. What did you expect him to do? What did you want him to do? They had no shooting last year, none. And now he's got the shooting. And the most impressive part I think about what JB's done this year, they are shooting it at an elite level, and they haven't lost anything defensively. They are still defending at the high level that he expects and that he wants, and they've added the shooting component to that. I think he's done a fantastic job.
Do you know where they rank defensively?
Top 5.
Since January 1st.
They're
number
2?
one defense in the NBA.
By the way, guys, 30 seconds each. 30 seconds each. As great as Donovan Mitchell has been for the Cavaliers in the last 2 years in the regular season, both G. Bush and Earl were completely out of pocket yesterday, in my opinion, when they said that Donovan Mitchell is the second best Cav in history ahead of Kyrie Irving. On a scale of 1 to 10, how out of pocket are they?
I'm not even sure Kyrie's number 2. Like, we've had this. It's not Donovan. I don't know. Like, we could talk about Brad Daugherty. We could talk about Austin Carr. Like, there's basketball did exist before 2010 in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that it's a wider conversation.
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst, 1 being not that bad, how outrageous a statement?
It's pretty outrageous. Now, if Donovan stays here another 2, 3, 4 years, we can have that conversation.
Sure.
But after 2 years,
can he win more than 1 playoff game before we do that?
Yes, that would be nice.
Tyvus,
go ahead.
Wait,
go ahead.
Let me see. Put the camera on, man. Listen, I got to take my hat off for this.
Uh-oh.
I'm about sick of the disrespect in Cleveland, okay? The second best Cavalier is not Kyrie Irving, it's not Donovan Mitchell.
Is it Giannis?
It's Zydrunas Ilgauskas. I don't care what nobody says. That man gave us so many great years. This man could shoot the 3, get rebounds, pass the ball. What more do you want him to do, coach? I mean, the man did every single thing. Shout out to Big Z. That's why his number's in the rafters.
By the way,
thank you.
Do you guys know the bar restaurant Buckeye Beer Engine in Lakewood? Anybody know that place?
Yeah.
I was once having lunch with my family. This is like probably 10 years ago. My son was like a baby, and or 8 years ago, whatever. And we were sitting outside at Buckeye Beer Engine, and he sat down with his family right next to us. And I turned around, and I hadn't seen. What the? Oh my, that's Big Z.
Phenomenal dude.
I didn't talk to him because I don't want to bother somebody with his family.
He is a great guy.
But yeah, everybody says that.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Second best Cavalier.
We're going to move on.
Thank you.
That was out of pocket, Tyvus. Even the day before your birthday, still out of
Zydrunas.
pocket. We're going to move on to our next topic, but first, a quick word from FanDuel. You can get buckets on your first bet with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and much, much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And today's winning ticket comes from our guy, Jermaine Evans, who had a seven-game parlay with different parts. He had a couple legs in the Cavs Bulls game last night. He had the Heat money line and the under in the Raptors Pacer games, the Tennessee college basketball line. Turned $10 into $163. So shout out to Jermaine Evans. If you have a winning ticket, as always, make sure you send it to us on Twitter, email it to us, but we will feature it on the show. So every year, Bill Simmons, twice a year, does his annual NBA trade value rankings. He does it after the deadline. This encompasses contracts, age, ability, everything into one. It's trade value rankings, and he has 11 categories. So we're going to run through the categories real quick before we tell you.
Before we do that, two quick things.
Shoot.
Number one, for the audience, I'll let you know that Mike's been out of pocket for the last half hour. He's been pressuring us to end topics when we were not ready.
We got a lot of stuff we got to get to today. A lot of stuff.
We could always go late if we had to.
A lot of stuff we got to get to.
Number two, I give Bill Simmons credit because Bill Simmons is somebody that people hate or love, and that makes you good. When you're good at your job in this business, people hate you and love you. If everybody loves you, you suck at your job.
What does that mean? I suck.
Well, yeah, nobody hates you. That's true. But you're too new, so you don't fill into that category yet.
They'll hate you. Stick around. They'll hate you.
Do you guys like Bill Simmons or hate him? Or you could be neutral.
I don't have an
I'm
opinion.
king neutral.
I don't have a relationship with him.
I'm not a fan.
I like
I'm a Bill
Simmons.
Simmons fan. Most of the famous people in this business I don't like. I like Dan Levitard. I like Nick Wright, although his hair is annoying me.
Yeah, he really needs to do something.
The hair is really irritating.
You don't like the hair
people
plugs?
say about my beard, but
Bill does know basketball, though.
oh,
Like,
100%.
he knows basketball.
When I say I don't like him, it doesn't do with his knowledge.
I do respect his basketball.
Yeah, he does, but he's irritating. Most Boston guys are irritating. Anyway, go ahead.
So these are the 11 categories in his trade value rankings. It starts from the lowest, which will go, and then we'll go to the top. They'll tell you where the 4 Cavs he had on the list rank, and we'll discuss whether or not we agree or disagree with these rankings,
Right.
which leads us to the big topic I want to get to next.
He ranks the top
which is the
75,
Browns.
so there's 4 Cavs on the list.
4 Cavs on the list. These are all the categories, and this goes from 11 down to 1, which is you're never going to trade these guys. So it starts with the upside gang. Then you have legit quality starters. You have the we're secretly listening but will deny it. We have the he's worth more to us than you category. We have the touchable untouchables. Next up, we have the too good, too young, too cheap category. We have the not a chance, stop calling. We have the budding franchise guys. We have the only if they made us do it. You have the untouchables. And then you have the utterly untouchables, which are your MVPs, Jokic, Giannis, Luka, those kind of players.
Is it too many
That
categories?
is a lot
I
of
do
different
think it is too many categories.
Some
It
of
is
them
my
is-
one issue with this.
I mean,
but
all right, go
For
ahead.
75
There are 4
guys,
Cavs.
that's ridiculous.
4 Cavs on the list.
Yeah.
The first 2, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, fall into the same category. That is the he's worth more to us than he is to you category. Some other guys in that category are Rudy Gobert, LeBron James, Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle, just to name a few. Jason, though, thinks Evan Mobley's categorized wrong here. Jason, you think Evan Mobley should be higher
agree.
than the worth more to us than you category?
Yeah, Jared Allen, that's a good fit. That's.
I don't think any of those guys besides Jared Allen should be on that.
Yeah,
Maybe Rudy Gobert. I don't know about him.
I mean, LeBron. That's a little silly to
that's
have him.
stupid
to
with
have
LeBron.
him.
Jaylen Brown? He's not valuable to other teams?
Well, he has the biggest contract in basketball.
His
which
contract is
he's
massive.
making
But he's really
$65
good,
million
though.
a year.
He's not worth what they're paying.
I'm about to
He's the
say
highest paid player in basketball.
Yeah, he's not that.
So
I think
right.
I think Jared is probably
Jared's
perfect, yes.
Yeah.
Evan, I think there's some, and so I'm looking at this. I've got the rankings in front of me, or the levels in front of me, the groupings.
Yeah.
He's got he's worth more to us than them in Group H, and like 3 or 4 levels away is budding franchise guy. I would have Evan. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm too high on him, but here's the other players in the budding franchise guy. I don't know if this is where you're going with it, Mike. Lauri Markkanen, Tyrese Maxey, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams. Those are his budding franchise guy.
I mean, those guys are, who's the last 2?
Holmgren and Jalen Williams, both
Holmgren
on the
and
Thunder.
Jalen Williams.
I mean, those guys are all better than
Mobley's not
though.
as good as Chet Holmgren.
No.
But I think he belongs in that group, especially, and we don't have enough of a sample size, but this 3-point thing, if this is real, and it looks like it's real,
Yeah.
like this is going on now on a couple of weeks, and it's got to go last longer than a couple of weeks, but this isn't like 1 or 2 shots that he's made. He's starting to do this at a consistent level. If this is real, he's absolutely in that group because and JB tried to make this point last night after the game, and he's right. And I've probably fallen into the trap of talking too much now about the 3-point shooting because it's become a hot button issue. And I just think it's really important to the style of the way that they play. But he can do so much more than just threes. Like, he is a complete basketball player.
Right.
The way that he can defend, the way that he can move in the post, some of the passes that he can make, he is legit. And I just think this is the last bag or the last club in his bag. And I think he should be a lot higher on that.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't. I need to see the categories.
I put him
again.
in between the category he is and the category you picked.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think he's as good as any of those
Well,
guys.
there's a
I
bunch of
wouldn't-
categories in between.
I wouldn't call him a franchise piece yet.
Right, because those guys are all more proven
Yeah.
than he is.
If
I mean,
he-
I know Holmgren's not been around.
If that
long,
3-point thing is real, then yeah, I would put him in that category. But if we going off of today, right now, I wouldn't consider him to be a franchise guy.
can you show us the categories in between those two, Mike?
I can read them to you.
There's
the
quite a few.
categories between sorry he's worth way more to us than you and budding franchise guys are the incredible touchable untouchables. Then you have the too young, too cheap, too good, please stop calling us. Then you have the let me save you some time, F no category.
I would put him in the too young, good, and cheap.
That
Yeah.
would have went
Yeah,
there.
that's
that's the
probably
one.
fair.
That's the one.
I'd put
And the
him
other
in.
guys in that category are Michael Bridges, Franz Wagner, Brandon Miller.
Yeah. Yeah,
he should absolutely be in that.
he's
category.
better than
Isn't
a lot
that
of
the
those
category?
names to me.
What do you think,
I
Mike?
agree. I would bump him up. I do think budding franchise guy. I think he could be.
He
I think
could
compared
be.
to
Like,
the
maybe
other
next
guys
year
there,
he's in that
he's
category.
one step back. So I
Yeah.
think he's in the too young, too good, too cheap. He's also on a great contract. I know part of this is future contracts, and he's due for a max rookie extension, which probably plays a little bit of role in it. But I do think he's grouped a little bit too low.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just
Listen,
trying to.
we all think Allen is fair.
I'm trying
Allen's
to figure
definitely
out
fair.
who wouldn't take Evan.
Nobody.
Everybody would take
Everybody
him.
would
That's
take
what I'm
him.
saying. So
Take
why
him, yeah.
would you think
Especially
that he's
on that
worth
contract.
more to us than the rest of the
that-
world? That doesn't make
He
sense.
doesn't fit in that category at all. I think
agree.
we've come to too young, too cheap.
Yeah, I'm comfortable
I
with
think
that.
we're good with that one. Allen's good. So now give us Garland.
So here's Garland, and he falls in the four-person, incredibly touchable, untouchable
I don't like this
categories.
one either.
He is Darius Garland, Karl Anthony Towns, Zion Williamson, and John Morant in this category. I think the premise of this is you look at a young, I'll use Garland for an example, a young point guard, all-star caliber player. On paper, you're never going to trade a 22, 23-year-old who's an all-star at that position. But for the right package, because of other circumstances, maybe you would. I think that's what he means by
I'm good with
touchable,
that.
untouchable.
Is he the worst player in that group?
No.
No, Zion is because he ain't play.
I mean, can you pull that group back?
Zion's so good when he plays.
I
though,
know,
right?
but
Yeah,
he don't be.
it was Ja, Zion,
So
Darius, and Karl Anthony Towns.
two of those guys have massive issues. Zion can't stay healthy and
Right.
can't lose weight, and Ja is a
The off
lunatic.
the field stuff.
Yeah.
Off court stuff.
So
yeah.
why would you put Darius in?
He doesn't fit with those
He
guys.
is not. That's not.
No.
That's not a good pairing for Darius. Now Darius has a lot of injury
I
concerns.
like as far
So
as
that part-
the
has
but
in
not to
common.
the Zion
But
level.
he's not a problem off the court.
No.
as far as the label goes, I think the label is correct. He's a touchable, untouchable.
I think the problem is the other guys in there.
I'm actually
Yeah,
I
I
those-
agree with that.
I'd leave
yeah.
him in and take
But
those guys out.
he fits the name of the category. to me.
Yeah, I agree. You think you don't like the category, or you just don't like the guys he's in
I
there
don't
with?
like the guys he's in with, and I'm looking at his categories now to see where else he would fit if it's not there. He's certainly not in the too young, too cheap, too good.
No, he got put.
Let me save you some time. F no.
He's not in that.
I think he's in
Yeah.
the right category, but the other guys shouldn't be in there. I think that's what it is.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
I feel like that's the right answer. It's he's in the right category. The other guys with him are not necessarily in the same category.
No, I don't
And
see it.
but I do feel like the premise of it, if a team called Zion or the Pelicans was like, hey, we'll make a list offer for Zion, in theory they're going to say, well, we can't trade Zion, but they secretly be listening. I feel like take a big picture look. It's not the perfect grouping, but I think you can make the case for those.
Isn't that a category? Secretly, will listen.
I just think Zion and John Morant, teams would trade them before the Cavs would trade Darius, I think.
Heck, LeBron,
I agree, yeah.
LeBron in the secretly we listen in.
Yeah.
Well, let's
All
go to
right.
the last one then, the untouchables. Now, this is the second highest group. There is the utterly untouchables, which is the Giannis's, the Lukas, the Jokic's. The untouchables, excuse me. There's more than just these, but a couple of the guys on the list in the untouchable category. Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Jalen Brunson, Joel Embiid, Steph Curry. I'll name you a few more just to keep going. Devin Booker and Tyrese Halliburton are the last two.
All right,
So that
and
is
who
the
are
full.
the utterly untouchables?
The utterly untouchables, there are 8. Paolo Banchero of the Magic, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, SGA, Wembanyama, Luka, Giannis, and Jokic.
And what is the third group? That's only if we're forced or something?
The group above that is the only if they made us do it category.
So,
Donovan should probably.
I'm about
be
to
in
say
that.
he should probably be in that one.
yeah. So who's in that group?
De'Aaron Fox, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard.
That's funny because I could see all of them making them do it.
But I don't understand. That's a weird category because what's the difference between that group
This goes
and
back.
the untouchables group?
This goes back to 11 categories is too many.
It doesn't make
like
any
you
sense.
just
I
reach
agree.
with 11. Like it could have been like 6.
Yeah. I mean, I think really the top 3 categories are all kind of the same.
Yeah.
Really, with Donovan, I would look at it as he's got him ranked like 14th, and that's probably accurate.
Yeah. I
think
mean, I don't
that's
have a problem
probably
with it. Yeah.
on the whole of where his game is.
Yeah. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, the only reason you would trade him is because he's not
wants-
going to sign long.
That's
if
it.
Donovan were willing to sign long term,
We wouldn't. This ain't even a conversation.
He
Yeah.
wouldn't trade him.
The only, I guess the only time you would trade him is if you could get one of the utterly untouchables. Then you would trade him.
Well, sure.
But you can't get those.
But you're not
Like
gonna get
the
those.
only way I would trade Donovan, unless I had to, is if I could get Giannis or
if they
Jokic,
if Boston wants to trade Jason Tatum,
or
let's
Tatum,
have that conversation.
Right. Unless I can get one of the 8 guys who are not too old and better, I wouldn't trade him unless I had to.
All right. Well, that was a good thought discussion because it leads us to the next thing, which is what I really wanted to get to today. Before we do that, if you're watching the show, we appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can catch UCSS every day in podcast form as well if you can't watch it live. If you want to listen on your drive into work or home from the gym, whatever you want, you can find us wherever you get your podcast as well. But that was kind of a thought exercise to get us in the thought process for this next topic. This is all hypothetical. We are not advocating to trade anybody on the Browns. We just want to have a discussion about what some Browns players would be worth if they hit the open market. Once again, they are not advocating to trade anybody. We're just having a thought discussion.
Well, there may be one guy on this list that I'm going to advocate to trade.
Maybe individually, but this is not.
Most of these guys, no, we don't want to trade.
We're going to start with Myles Garrett. We are not advocating for the Browns to trade Myles Garrett.
We're just trying to ascertain where we think the value would be if, for whatever reason, they decided to trade these guys. But yes.
Exactly. So
most
just want
of
to
these
make
guys,
that very
if
clear.
not all of them, are guys we don't want the Browns.
None of these guys are actually on the trade block at this moment, to our knowledge. We are just having a hypothetical discussion about what their value would be if they hit the open market. So I'll give you guys a player. We could all agree, disagree, but I'll discuss what each player's value would be if they were to hit the open market.
You're going to tell us what you think the value is, and then we got to debate what you said?
Nope. I'm just going to give you the player, then you guys can talk.
And it's what we think.
What you think.
What do you think his value is in a trade?
If that player was
you
to
got
hit
to
the open
obviously
market.
factor in off the field stuff, which really is only a factor with Deshaun in terms of the Browns. You got to factor in their contract, their age.
Yep.
Injury history, all of that plays a role. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Are we ready? Let's start with Myles Garrett. What would Myles Garrett trade value be if he were to hit the open market?
3 first-round picks.
No. 3?
I think it's 2. I don't think it's 3. Quarterbacks
only.
3.
I mean, most quarterbacks don't even get 3.
Right. Deshaun was 3. That was extenuating circumstances.
Right.
Browns were desperate.
Ricky Williams trade. He need every pick in the draft.
Yeah, that was dumb.
No, I think for Myles, if y'all gonna say not
two first rounders.
2 firsts in a second. Now.
Yeah, beyond the first, I don't know.
Oh, you could go
in terms of. I think you would get 2 firsts plus something. You would get
other picks.
Yeah,
a third or fifth
picks,
or something like that.
Third, second.
There's some extra stuff, but in terms of the key of what you get,
2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Yes.
3 is too much. Nobody's giving up 3 for no matter how good he is.
How old is Myles?
28.
It don't matter. There's
good.
no non-quarterback you're getting more than 2 first-round picks for.
I agree with that.
Khalil Mack, when he got traded,
what Von Miller get traded to the Rams for?
I don't remember.
Because
they
was about to offer Carolina like 2 or 3 first-round picks for Brian Burns.
The Rams traded their 2nd and 3rd round picks in 2022 to get Von Miller.
They didn't even give him a first-round pick.
Man, that's not.
2 first-round picks for a defensive lineman is good.
Khalil Mack
that's a lot.
I'm pretty sure Khalil Mack got 2.
He did, I think.
But that's
when he went
uncommon.
from the Raiders, when he left the Raiders. I think
he was in his prime.
He was.
And he's a great player.
Miles just won DPOY.
I hear you. We're saying he
getting 2 for sure. At the bare minimum, he's getting 2.
We all agree to get some other things, but not a 3rd first-round pick.
I think the Browns would try to squeeze that 3rd one.
You probably get 2 1s, a 2, and a 4.
Yeah. What would you get? All right, let me ask you this.
Khalil Mack, by the way, just to give you, this is probably the closest comparison.
Yeah.
And that
Khalil Mack got 2 first-rounders, a 3rd, and a 6th.
Okay.
What else did they get besides Mack? Anything?
Mack and a 6th.
So, and they got 2 firsts.
A 3rd.
A 3rd and a 6th. So they essentially swapped 6
rounds. Yeah, they just got to the 3rd.
2 firsts and a 3rd.
So that's what they get for Myles, I think.
That was a long time ago.
That was
about 10 years ago, wasn't it?
2019.
That
was that close?
No.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack was no.
Yes.
No.
Khalil Mack was on the Bears when I was playing in the league, so there's no way.
Yeah, that
got to be like 17 or 18.
What happened in 18? They got They got a 19 and 20 first-round pick. The trade
about
happened in 18.
The trade was 18.
Okay, I'm about to say I remember.
I think that's about right.
I remember watching Khalil Mack destroy the Cardinals when we was about to play him, but I was like, this man got triple team and made the sack steal.
Obviously, this would never happen. But let's say you were in a scenario where the Chiefs had to trade Patrick Mahomes. Okay?
That's not going to happen.
How many first-round picks would they end up giving up? Like,
4.
If you're the Browns, would you give up 10 first-round picks?
No.
I would.
No.
I would give up 10 first-round picks for Patrick Mahomes.
No. But
you wouldn't?
What the
for Patrick Mahomes?
How much did we give up for Deshaun?
3.
Oh, they give him 4 at the minimum. 4.
I mean, 6 or 7 is probably realistic. That's probably.
You wouldn't give up 10.
Hey, the 4.
I would give up 10.
No.
4. 4 or 5.
5.
Can you even do that?
Yes.
Yeah,
there's
no
not the
step
NBA.
There's no step.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks,
If they do that, they may have a Haslam rule. If they
speaking of quarterbacks, if the value for Patrick Mahomes is 4 to 10, anywhere in that range, first-round picks, what would the value for Deshaun Watson be if the Browns were to try and trade him right now?
Lord.
It wouldn't be a good. I'm going to tell you that because people don't want the contract, and he's coming off of a shoulder injury that nobody's ever had before.
Yeah, I don't think you would even get one first round.
Yeah, it'd be
I don't think
very hard.
I don't think there's a single team in the league that would trade for him.
Oh, yeah.
It's because of the contract.
Yeah, they would.
6th round pick.
Atlanta would take him.
I don't
Atlanta
know.
would take him.
Atlanta would take him.
You think they would?
Yes.
For one first?
Now,
New
Mike
Orleans
and I were discussing this yesterday, and I say nobody would take him. Now, I was thinking about this. It's only 3 more guaranteed years at this point, right?
Yes.
So it's not like you're getting into a 5-year deal.
Right.
So it's a 3-year guaranteed deal.
I think.
So I'm going to reverse what I said yesterday, Mike, that they would get nothing for him. But I don't think they would get any better than a 4th-round pick.
I think they could get better than that.
I definitely
Not
think
much.
they get better. I think they could get 2 seconds.
I think you
2
probably,
seconds?
I think you get a 3rd for him.
Like 2 seconds.
I think you get
Depending on who you going. If you're going to Atlanta, they give up 2 seconds. I think if you're going to Carolina, you get 2 seconds.
Well, Carolina ain't taking them now. They got.
Yeah. Why would you do that if you're Atlanta?
Because
I mean,
they're
right
a quarterback
now-
away.
Right. But do we know he's like we were talking about this yesterday, and I said at this point I'm 50-50 that he's going to get back to being a top quarterback. We all want it to happen, but do you think there's many people around the league right now that are not Browns fans that think he's going to turn it around?
I'm slightly more than 50-50. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm 65-35.
65-35. What's your feeling right
If
now?
you were, if Deshaun played exactly as he's played since he got here, and he played for the Saints, would you think?
Let's trade for him? No.
Would you think? Hey, there's a lot there. Like
No.
this guy's
I
going to
think
turn
he's
it around.
done.
No one would think that.
I wonder the percentage of, forget fans, because of football coaches, executives, analysts, what percentage of them think that Deshaun Watson could still be a top 10 quarterback? Not even asking for top 5, which he was.
Probably less than 50.
You say if you ask who?
If you ask NFL coaches, executives, analysts, former players,
If
stuff like that.
if Deshaun Watson could be a top 10.
Do you think Deshaun Watson will at some point in the next few years be a top 10 quarterback in the league? What percentage of them would say
So he
yes?
got to do it one time in 3 years.
No, that he would consistently get back to being a
yeah.
top 10. And remember, in Houston, I think he was top 5. But I'm only saying top 10 or even top 12.
He could get to 10.
He can't, but that's not the question. The question is, do you believe he will? Would you bet your yes?
Yes, I would.
Okay,
but that's a loaded question because I need to know what else is being done at the receiver position and all of those things. I need to know about other things.
But the bottom line is, I think it would be less than 50% would bet yes on him.
I bet.
And I'm around 50% right
Deshaun gonna be top 10.
We all hope so, Tyvis.
He's gonna be top 10.
But it's been 4 years. The 2020 season was the last time he was a top 10 quarterback. That's a while now. This is his last year to do it.
Well, he ain't played.
All right, so we split. So Tyvis says 2 second-round picks. Jason says a 3rd-round pick.
I think a 3rd.
I say a 4th-round pick. What do you say, Mike?
Quarterbacks always seem to get more than I think, so I would say a 3rd. I think a 3rd's probably right in the middle.
All right. I mean, think about that. A 3rd. You gave up 3 firsts and more to get him, which I was totally in favor of, and hopefully it will still not turn out to be terrible.
But I mean, look at this.
It's just the contract.
He's been a bust, but look at what the 49ers gave up to get Trey Lance, and then what they got for him when they moved on. What did they get from Dallas? Like a
4th.
Yeah,
a 4th.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, that's what I think. Like
Different contract, obviously, not nearly as much money.
Right.
owed to
Obviously,
Trey
Watson
to
has
Deshaun.
had success in the league. Lance hasn't played.
I think
but Lance is not getting paid anything.
I think more teams would take a chance on him than you think.
You think?
Yeah.
I
You
agree
think a
with that.
2nd-round pick? Tyvis is 2 second-round picks.
If the price is right, like maybe at 2-2s they say no, but like New Orleans again, Tampa, he's the quarterback.
2
possibly.
seconds in a reduced.
Atlanta.
Wait, what? How much you got left on his contract?
3 years.
So, like, money-wise, we probably don't know that.
180, right?
Roughly.
3 years, 180.
What was it? 230.
Well, he only got paid $1 million the first year.
So yeah, but it was.
but it was all signing bonus.
Yeah.
He got 3 years, $60 million a year.
Roughly. Let's say 180.
Oh,
Let's say
he's
175. Let's say 170.
He'd have to agree to a reduction to
3 for
40.
170 for a guy who's not short on.
And I don't blame him. I wouldn't do it either.
I wouldn't do it either. I wouldn't renegotiate either.
2 seconds.
I'm with you guys. All right, let's go to the next one, guys.
All right.
Greg Newsome, who might be, of all the guys we talked about, the most realistic guy who could be traded. What do you think Greg Newsome's value is if he were to hit the open market this
Mary
offseason?
Kay was on my podcast yesterday. I asked her about, because I said, hey, if there's a guy you love early in the second round, would you consider, if it worked out, trading Greg Newsome in a pick to get up to the front of the second round or even late in the first round? I don't know if that's realistic, but, if you would. And she said she didn't think Barry would do it because he loves his picks, especially his high picks. And she may be right about that. I would trade Greg Newsome in the right deal, guys. He's the one guy in this group that I would trade in the right deal because he's a good player, but he's their third corner and they got good depth. And I think they could. And unlike at wide receiver, the Browns have shown that they have an ability to find good corners.
How easy is it to replace a slot corner of his caliber?
Well, the difference between him is because Cam Mitchell came in and played so well, and he's already been a slot. See, G New got transferred to being a slot, so it's still a learning thing. He isn't naturally a slot.
So if Cam,
but where his value is that Denzel's gonna go down.
Okay.
So you always got the confidence to say, I got the dude that can go out there and get us through these games.
But if there was a guy early in the second round that you needed Greg Newsome to trade to get that guy, wouldn't you do it?
My thing with this is, who's going to trade for him? If I'm another team, why would I want Greg? If he's been for the past 2 years been a slot corner, they're not going to get paid. We need a number one lockdown corner. That is what the number one thing of defense need. A number one lockdown, and that's
there may be teams that look at him and say he's a good number 2 corner. No, you don't think so?
I mean, yeah, sure.
All right. So what do you think his trade value is?
At the most, a third. At the most, third or fourth, I see it. It's a slot. Like, ain't nobody – nickels don't get traded, like, for bigs. One of the best nickels in the league is your boy. Exactly. And he got signed to?
He was a free agent. They didn't pay him a lot.
Would you trade a second or third for Mike Hilton?
I wouldn't because I think he's excellent. But the Bengals don't have as good a starting corners as the Browns do either. So Mike Hilton in that role is more important. Plus, he's a leader on the team. That's not really Greg Newsome's.
What do you mean? He brings the energy.
He does. He does bring good energy. Jason, what do you think his trade value is?
This is hard for me because as a straight up, I tend to agree with Tyvis, I think. He to me is more of a player-for-player type trade.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or bundle him with the pick to move up to go into the first round.
Right.
Something like that. But if you're just trading him, I don't think the value is there. Going back to the Bill Simmons rankings, he's more valuable to us than you.
Yeah.
I don't know that the value is there. If you're just trading him strictly for a pick, I don't think that's good value on the Browns' part because I tend to agree with Tyvis. I mean, listen, he played defensive back in the NFL. If he says he's worth a third, then I'm not going to disagree with that.
I agree it's a third. I do think potentially you could trade your second-round pick and Newsome and maybe a late-round pick to move up to the beginning of the second round. I think you could do that. So I think we're all around the same.
All around the same area. That's clutch. Next up, Nick Chubb. Last year of his deal, $15.8 million cap hit. What do you guys think Nick Chubb would get in return if he were to hit the open market?
Yeah, on his current contract?
6.
Yeah, Tyvis is right.
Coming off an injury, that big cap hit, 6.
Yeah, he has no. I love Nick. We all love Nick, but he has no trait. First of all, running backs. For the most part, don't have.
You don't even know what you
get. They got a lot from McCaffrey. I mean, the Panthers got a lot from McCaffrey.
Different player.
But he was younger, not coming off a serious injury.
Better pass catcher out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Completely different style.
Nick has way more value to the Browns than anybody else.
Yes.
And
obviously, they're not going to pay him $16 million. If Nick Chubb were a free agent, if they did cut him, I'm not sure how much money he'd get. $5-6 million a year.
He get a lot of suitors, but as
Yeah,
far as
but-
the high money, that's
No.
you don't know what you're getting.
I think I think he's a construct where it's like, we're going to give you $4 or $5 million guaranteed, and here's incentives to get this to 10 as well.
Yep.
Because you can't pay him guaranteed money, a running back at 28 who's coming off a knee injury and might not be ready for the start of the season.
That's gonna be.
They're going to have to figure it out. But don't you think, doesn't Nick strike you as somebody that knows the deal?
How much? Well, nobody know this. I was going to ask, how much has he made in his NFL career?
Nick Chubb?
Yeah,
I want to say he's made about $35 million.
I mean, he did get paid. He got a big
I know
contract.
he did, but I'm like,
He's probably made. What'd you say?
35 million.
Yeah, I think
something
it's
like
probably
that.
about right.
35 million.
Give or take.
Nick Chubb seems like a guy that's a pretty simple guy. Don't spend his money.
he ain't-
35,
Yeah, but
he good.
He's simple, but he's not going to be taken advantage of.
No, not simple like he's a dummy.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
If they gonna renegotiate his deal, it's probably gonna be incentives based.
Yes.
Right. Like I was saying yesterday, what if you offered him a 4-year contract, 2 years guaranteed, at like $6 million base both years, with a bunch of incentives that can get you to $10, $12 million each of those years?
I don't think he would take it.
You don't think he would take that?
He's made $34 million in his career.
Oh, we were
Look
really
at that,
close.
almost nailed it.
That's crazy.
You don't think he would take that, Jason?
Not 4
six,
years.
just $6 million. It got to be more than
Why
that.
would he? Why would he
That
give
you-
you 4 years of control over him?
Yeah.
You cutting?
That's not a good deal for him.
What's his cap hit this year?
16 right now.
Are you trying to cut $10 million on the whole thing?
Well, he's not getting paid $16 million. That's just the cap hit. What's his actual money this year? Do you know?
Ain't it 50? I thought it was like 15.
I don't think
It's 16. I'm almost positive.
I thought that was
it's
just
16.
his cap hit, not his salary.
No, it's
Nick Chubb's cap hit is $15.825 million. His base salary is $11.775 million. His prorated signing bonus is $4 million. So he's
So he's already gotten the signing bonus.
So
his,
it's 11
his
million.
actual salary this year
11 million.
is
12
11
million. 11.8.
close to $12 million.
And how much is any of that guaranteed?
Probably don't say
no.
that.
Okay, so if none of it's guaranteed, and he's supposed to make 11.7, if they offered him 6 guaranteed with a chance to make an extra 6 in incentives, so actually make even a little bit more,
If I was him,
that are reasonable incentives, that basically, if he's healthy and he plays, he'll reach
if you
most.
said that to me, I would come back and say 8, and you got a deal.
I think you could find reasonable.
Okay.
It sounds to me like you could find reasonable ground.
But I
Hey.
wouldn't do 4 years if I'm him.
No, I'm not. No,
I'm not giving you 4 years of
All
control
right.
over me.
Well, fine. I just thought it would benefit him. Well, it
two
doesn't.
years,
Not
2
guaranteed
years,
anyway.
8. That's what I tell you. 2 years, 8 with a incentive.
2 years,
give me
16
Give me
million.
$3 million incentives base. Make it good too.
2 years, $16 million guaranteed. You can make up to 22 in incentives.
Here's the
24
thing.
incentives.
I don't know that the Browns were going to pick up that option when he was healthy.
Right.
So
Well, they're not going to. That's why they're going to renegotiate.
I'd not pick up. I don't know that they were going to
Yeah.
keep that contract
No,
as
they weren't.
is.
They gonna
Even before they
Boy,
Shit.
renegotiate.
and Jason,
Injury.
like, he's not getting a ton of money in free agency.
That's what I'm saying. I don't
Yeah.
know that you have to go that high.
Maybe
on
you don't
him.
have to go that high.
Like
You tell them 4.
With
I would give him I would do right by him and give him the opportunity to make it back in incentives.
yes, every dime, but it's
But-
got to be incentive based.
But
You know what he gonna say? I'm gonna test the free agent market.
and then you say, okay, we love you. Go ahead, and we'll be here. I mean,
Suck to lose him, but
who's gonna
I don't wanna
gonna
lose
sign him?
Nobody.
Coming off a second
Since
catastrophic.
the Cincinnati Bengals.
No, they're
Maybe
not. somebody Nobody's guaranteeing him a lot of money. I just
mean?
can't see it. But
At
you know,
this
it only
point-
takes one team.
At that point, if you only offering 4, Cincinnati offering me 6, why wouldn't I go to Cincinnati?
You would, and maybe at
And
that
then
point-
look at it like
At that
they be
point,
like
it
the
goes back
Browns
to the
only
Browns.
offered you 4, we'll give you 6.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you be like, okay, cool.
This is why negotiations can get ugly, and personal, and feelings get hurt. Because if you're in, and we're making all this up, right?
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
Nah, they definitely gonna do right by. They
you
not
know how
gonna.
negotiations go. If they do come and say, $4 or $5 million, and he can get 6 or 7, why would he go back, give them the opportunity to match? He's going
Right.
to say, screw you. And
Yeah.
so that's why
He might.
this is hard.
It's a weird
hard.
thing. The idea of Nick Chubb in another uniform is.
Isn't that what happened to Albert Bell?
No,
He
Bell.
he said that he got a contract and told the Indians that they about to offer me this much, and
they didn't believe it.
And they didn't believe him.
Or maybe they just didn't want to offer him that much money. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah.
That was probably the truth.
We got 3 more.
Yeah.
Next up, what about David Njoku? Coming off his best career season. Still, he's not old, but he's not young. Kind of in that middle prime of his career area.
What's
If
his
Njoku
contract?
was to hit the open market,
What's his
what'd he get?
contract?
Was
like-
he getting like $8 million a year?
Is
It's
he
not
like
crazy.
the 4th or 5th highest paid tight end, right?
Listen, he's a good player. He had a very good year.
Third.
I don't think he'd get a lot in a trade.
Third.
I think you're
I was
right.
going to say second. You think third?
I think third. I'm
You could push the second. You could push the second. If I gotta know what his money is. That's the.
Now it also depends. Like if you're a good team that just needs a tight end and you have a late second round pick, yeah, I can see that. But some team in the top 10 of the second round that's not a good team, they're not trading that for David.
I'm trying to think of a team.
Unless you have an extra pick.
Who got a good quarterback?
I mean, the
like,
Bengals don't have a tight end, but obviously the Browns wouldn't trade him to the Bengals.
No, that's not happening.
The Chiefs
Who's another
replacement
good
for
team
Kelsey?
that needs a tight end? Buffalo's got a young tight end.
Yeah,
Obviously, Kansas City's got it. Let's look at the NFC.
Travis Kelsey retires, goes to Kansas City.
What about Green Bay? Who does Green Bay
They
have?
drafted the 2 young guys.
If you're the Browns, why would you trade him to Kansas City?
I'm just
That's why I'm
mentioning
looking
the
at
team.
the NFC.
Yeah.
Dallas has got a young guy they like.
They
Green
got
Bay's
Jake
got young
Ferguson.
guys they like. Detroit obviously has an awesome young guy.
Yeah, they do.
San Francisco's got Kittle. He's getting old, but
Seattle. Pair him up with Geno. They had Noah Fant
Seattle.
this year.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're Seattle, are you giving up?
I take it.
That's a middle. I don't think they're giving up the 40-something pick in the draft for
The third.
Njoku.
Third.
But if I'm Seattle, I'd give up a third. Yeah.
Third. Like I say, you can swing a second, maybe.
Yeah. A late, if it was a team
late second, yeah.
But most of the good teams have a good tight end, except
Yeah.
for the Bengals are the one team that stands out, and they're not trading him to the Bengals.
Let me look right real quick.
I'm thinking, who's another decent team in the NFC? Philadelphia's got Goddard.
Who does the
Would you go
Saints?
to
Who's
New
the
Orleans?
Saints tight end?
Taysom Hill.
Who is Miami's tight end?
They don't need a tight end.
They don't have anybody. But
don't
the
play with the tight
Buccaneers, they don't really have a tight end, do they?
They don't.
Cade
know.
Otten?
Yeah, he's all right. I don't think he's doing anything. But
We're going to put the last 2
Yeah.
into one. We'll
Chargers
combine these
will
because they're
be
both
the team.
DBs. Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson Jr. Is there any question on who would get a bigger return?
there is because
Con-
Denzel's better, but he's injury prone
still
and
think-
he's got a big contract.
The contract is the reason why. But Denzel is still.
But
No,
Denzel is
He had a great year.
Denzel's a number. He's a for sure
listen,
number one thing.
Martin. Everybody here loves Martin Emerson, and he gets a lot of hype amongst Cleveland fans. But around the league, Denzel Ward is considered a different class
Yes.
than Martin Emerson.
Athletically, he's
Yes.
unbelievable. I
So,
told you
but
that
he's got a huge contract, and you know he's going to miss a couple of games each year.
I still think he gets you.
he get
one.
the most. He get the most
I think
return.
you get a first-round pick.
Yeah.
I think you get a first-rounder for Denzel.
Denzel's what 27, 28, 27, 28.
How old is Denzel?
Probably younger than that. Miles is 28. Denzel's probably 26, 7.
Miles is 26, turns 27 in April. So
No,
it'll be
Denzel.
27.
Denzel, you mean?
What did I say?
You said
You said
Miles.
Miles.
Oh, no. Denzel's 26, excuse me. Turns 27 in April of this
Oh,
upcoming
yeah,
year.
yeah,
Or this
yeah.
year.
April of
This year.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's 20. He'll be 27.
He'll be 27 for football season next year.
Like I said, I love Martin, but
Martin Emerson,
Martin still got some
good
things.
player,
He got some things
young,
he got to work
cheap
on.
contract.
Yeah.
I think you can get a second-round pick for Emerson.
Probably.
You probably would.
Yeah.
You'd get more for Emerson than you would for Njoku, I think.
Yes. Corners, because corners hold more value.
Yeah.
You get you a number one corner, you can.
So
that's-
we agree. First pick, first-rounder for Ward, second-rounder for Emerson.
Yep.
But I
Awesome.
wouldn't trade either of them. for
I would,
this thing.
you shouldn't.
No.
If you got a corner, if you got a lockdown corner, you never trade
Right.
them.
Go ahead, Mike.
Also,
Oh,
we'll
that
move
was
on,
good.
but after that was interesting, by the way, and I think
The best conversations were the Njoku one was interesting.
Deshaun.
Obviously, Deshaun was a fascinating.
it's just interesting to
Chubb.
think like you look at a guy, but when you look at it from a trade value perspective, you may love a guy, but like Chubb, the return for Chubb is nowhere near how valuable he is to him, which is
It's
why.
position,
Yeah.
age, and injury.
I feel
And I
like
thought it just tied back to the Simmons stuff too, so I'm glad we were able to kind
the
of put those
Chubb
together.
thing
and give
would have
a
been
little context.
different had he rushed for 1,500 yards.
Oh
Like-
yeah, sure.
Like, but it's
Right.
He got hurt.
He's injured. He's old for a running back.
If Deshaun was it was performing like a top 10, it'd be different for him too.
Of course,
yeah. And, well, that's actually going to lead us right into our next game. We're going to play a little round of I know, I think, I doubt after a quick word from FanDuel. You can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel right now, America's #1 sportsbook, because at the moment, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, the NBA, and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're going to play a little round of I know, I think, I doubt, Browns offseason edition. You guys know how this works. I give you a question. Your answer is either I know, I think, I doubt, and then we will discuss afterwards. And Tyvis, my friend, you are up first. The statement I give you here, Deshaun Watson will play like a top 8 quarterback in 2024. I know, I think, I doubt. What say you?
Top 8. It's interesting. Why'd you pick the cutoff 8?
Yeah, why did you pick 8?
Because I wanted to put Tyvis on the spot here.
That was good putting 8. I like that.
I'm going to go with I think. I'm going to go with I think on this one. And the only reason I'm going to go with I think is because I got to see what the other moves the Browns make at this current moment. Like how the roster currently is constructed. Like, I think he can have some success. Obviously, I know that they are capable of doing it. Joe Flacco did it. But right now, it's so many different pieces. You know, new offensive staff. I got to see how that work plays out. And then I got to see how he comes back from the shoulder injury, how he looks from that. I think that, you know, confidence-wise, I think he'll have his confidence back because he left on such a good note, knowing that he could still make plays and still win games and in crunch time get things done. I think he believes that he knows he got good playmakers now because Joe Flacco raised the play of all of these guys. So he knows that these guys are capable of making plays. My biggest thing is now that it's a new coach and staff in there as far as offensive minds, I got to see how they gel with Deshaun first. And that's why I'm at I think right now.
Jason, what is your reaction to Tyvis going with I think? Not top 12, but top 8. I like that. It's an interesting dividing line. What would you go? Would you have gone with?
I would have probably put I doubt.
Of course you would.
Just because of the amount of terrific quarterback play in the NFL. Like, you don't have to think very hard to think of 8 really good quarterbacks.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I would go with I doubt also, and let me tell you why.
Mahomes, Burrow.
Well, you put him 16th yesterday.
Yeah,
so
here
that's
we go.
Twice as many.
Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, C.J. Stroud, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love. That might be 8 already.
That's 9.
That's already 9. And there's other guys that I would be surprised if he did better than.
He could beat
if
Jordan.
you had said 12, I might have gotten to I think.
Yeah, he could beat Jordan Love. That still gets him to 9.
He could.
But I doubt.
No, I don't know. If
I could was an option, or he could, I would.
Let me ask you this. If they went out and signed Mike Evans or T. Higgins, what would you say? Would that change you in any way?
It's funny that you asked that because either Earl or G asked the same type of question to me yesterday when we were having this conversation about Deshaun. And ultimately, the difference is that I thought when the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson that they had acquired one of the very few quarterbacks
that could raise the play.
And that you didn't have to have a third
That's how
great pass catcher.
Joe Flacco did it. With the same unit.
Nah, he did it in a short sample size.
He did do it.
And he threw a ton of interceptions.
He sure did, yeah.
So would I like Deshaun Watson's prospects better if they added a top 25 wide receiver? Of course. I still would doubt that he's top 8.
8 is up.
Top 8.
You give me 10 or 12 and I might change my mind.
I mean, in 2023, he was nowhere close to the top 8.
Right.
And if I got to say he's going to be top 8, that means I have to assume he's going to be healthy for the whole year. And if I assume he's going to be healthy for the whole year, then I got to assume Burrow's going to be healthy for the whole year. And all these other quarterbacks that got hurt this year, I have to go under the same assumption that they're all going to stay healthy. And if they do, the odds of him being top 8, based on his play the last 2 years, is not high.
Jason, you're up next. I know, I think, I doubt. Myles Garrett will repeat as the 2024 NFL Defensive Player of the Year? Do you think, do you know, or do you doubt?
I would like, but I doubt. In the 50-plus year history of NFL Defensive Player of the Year, only 3 guys have ever repeated. Lawrence Taylor, Aaron Donald, and J.J. Watt. Now, obviously, Donald and Watt, it's a little bit more recent, but there just isn't a very long track record of guys winning it in back-to-back years. It doesn't happen very often, and you know, a lot of people called it sort of a Lifetime Achievement Award for Myles this year. Well, guess what? I just name file in my head. Dallas.
Oh, Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons hasn't won one yet, so maybe he's up next year.
It's so dumb that we think of it this way.
I know, but that's the way
it's
that they
wrong,
do.
but I
they
think
do.
It's truth. Yeah.
So, I mean, he could if he has another monster year, but he's got to have a better year than he had this year. Like, that's the thing. So now he's got to have better numbers across the board than what he had this year to even be, you know, I think a serious candidate to win it next year, which is possible. But sorry, guys, I doubt it.
You woke up negative. I doubt.
Well, I don't think that's negative at all. Myles Garrett could be great next year and still not win the Defensive Player of the Year.
In my text to Mike, I said, I doubt, I know I am the Grinch, because he calls me the Grinch at UCSS. So.
I have to agree with Jason. I'm on I doubt too, and it's not because Myles, as he said, I mean, he gave you the reasons. It's pretty simple. It's hard to win the award. There's a lot of great players. It's funny, the MVP has become a quarterback award, and the Defensive Player of the Year has basically become a pass rusher award. I mean, that's it. The other guys don't really get serious consideration. So it limits the number. I mean, there's only like 10, 15 guys really that could win the award probably. But the competition's so tough every year that if this year it was close with him and Micah Parsons and T.J. Watt, I agree with Jason. If it's close between those guys again next year, it'll probably be Micah Parsons that'll win it because he hasn't won and the other guys have.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that statement. That's typically how it works. I want to go on record and say I think.
Okay. Official, I think.
Official, I think from Titus. If he was confident, he would say I know. But it's an official, I think.
I don't bet it. I don't like
Bull,
to
you're
bet
up
against
next
people.
here.
I'm up next.
Bull's up. Bull, any Brown receiver not named Amari Cooper will finish the 2024 season with 900 more receiving yards. That is any pass catcher. Tight ends count. Do you know, do you think, or do you doubt?
I think I put I think.
I think I
Didn't
put
I?
I think.
Anthony will take the graphic when he's there. Yes,
There
you
it
said you
is.
think.
I think because, first of all,
Hey, we got a positive Bull.
this was pass catcher. Now, Mike wrote receiver in the question, but I asked him to clarify if he specifically meant just receivers. David Njoku was 18 yards shy of 900 this past year.
Yep.
Now, did he play his best with Joe Flacco? He did. But I would think after this breakout year, you know, you assume the Browns will be healthier next year, that he has a good chance to get to 900 yards next year. And I also think the Browns will be aggressive in terms of trying to get a proven wide receiver. And if they got a Calvin Ridley or a T. Higgins, I can't imagine how the Bengals don't franchise T. Higgins. So I'm going to stop talking about him. But if they get a Calvin Ridley or a Marquise Brown or Mike Evans, certainly, I mean, those guys would have a shot. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is if you get a Calvin Ridley, say, or a Marquise Brown, that both Njoku and that guy would end up in the 800s.
50, yeah.
That's kind of what the caveat of 900
possible,
was, yes.
But in the end, 900 is not crazy. You're not asking for 3 guys to get there. You're only asking for a second guy. I'm going to say that even though Jason and I just said Deshaun Watson's not going to be a top 8 quarterback, I certainly think he's going to be a lot better than he has been. So even if he's the 15th best quarterback in the league, it still means he'll throw for about 4,000 yards or high 3,000s, which means there'll be some more yards to go around, and I think somebody will get there. I think there's a good chance. It's not a definite, but I think
Will Deshaun have a better season than Baker?
I think he will, yes.
Okay.
Baker never has 2 good years in a row. He'll go back.
that might
Here's
be,
what happens.
I think that might be true, actually.
It is true. He was good for a rookie.
I think that.
I'm sorry.
I think that might
as
be
a rookie,
factual.
he was good for a rookie, but it wasn't. He was good in 2020.
There's no time like the present.
And he was actually, he was bad 2 years in a row. So I mean, it's 2 good years with 2020 and 2023. So he's not had 2 good years in a row. I guess you could argue 19 and 20 wasn't bad as a rookie.
If he had 2 bad years, then should you counter that by having 2 good
maybe
years?
it's 2. We'll see. But I'm going to say Watson ends up the 15th best quarterback this year, and Baker is the 18th best quarterback.
That's definitive from both. Jason, you're back up on the clock.
Well, these guys didn't.
I think Mike's trying to move on.
Oh, no, you guys go.
No, what do you guys?
I agree.
You agree with I think?
Tyvis
on the.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Yeah, okay.
I thought they agreed. That's my bad. I wasn't trying to rush you
all right.
guys. Jason, you're up with this one. I know, I think, I doubt. The Browns will have a top 3 pass defense in 2024. They were top 3 in 2023. Can they repeat, you say?
Come on, man. Of course I doubt.
Oh, my.
Here's why.
You?
Here's why. Yeah, I'll tell you why. They were second this year.
Who
And
was first?
I don't know.
Kansas City?
And second based on what?
Just pass
Pass
yards per
defense,
game.
yeah.
Pass
I don't
yards
buy
per
that
game.
as a legitimate way to rank.
Well,
them,
that's how Mike phrased it.
For this argument,
So
that's how we're
Oh,
going
it's
to do
gonna
it.
be it's gonna be tough because they play
First
some.
was actually the Panthers.
They play some crazy.
Carolina was number 1. The
quarterbacks.
Browns were number 2. The Jets were number 3.
Carolina couldn't stop the run this year.
But the reason why I chose I doubt for this, the Browns didn't really play a ton of elite quarterbacks who were healthy and productive. Here's the list of quarterbacks they got to play next year. Lamar twice, of course, Burrow twice, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Dak, Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Trevor Lawrence. Now, if all those guys are healthy, that's 10 of their 17 games against some pretty doggone good quarterback play. So for that reason, I mean, top 3, again, you could be really good and not fall in the top 3. This is like the top 8 conversation. You could be top 10 and not top 8. So for just the fact of the schedule that they have to play next year is going to be a pretty tough schedule, and the quarterbacks that they face are all really, really good, or a high number of them are really good. I'm going to say I doubt for top 3. They could still be very good and not be in the top 3.
And who knows, like the Broncos and Commanders will have new quarterbacks. So
That's right.
They might have, but you're right. I mean, again, guys could get hurt next year too, but on paper,
you have to assume health.
The 10th best quarterback, and we count Lamar and Burrow as 2 guys, essentially, because you played them twice. The 10th best guy you mentioned, I think, was Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, if that's the way you want to rank them. I just went in order of how they appeared on the schedule.
Right, but unless I'm
Lamar, Burrow, Mahomes, Herbert, Dak, Tua, Jalen, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I'd say he's
Tua or Trevor Lawrence. Take your pick.
What's that?
Tua or Lawrence, whoever you want to say.
We play San Fran next year.
Yeah, I mean, if Tua and Lawrence are essentially the 9th and 10th best quarterbacks you're playing good quarterbacks.
You're playing a lot of good quarterbacks next year.
So it's going to be hard.
3's
Plus,
a really high bar. You give me 8 for that one, I'll probably give you a yes.
Another thing is, if this were the 80s or even the 90s or where defenses kind of stayed together.
Yeah.
And I know the Browns aren't going to lose a lot of key pieces this year. But in the modern NFL, defenses fluctuate from year to year.
Yeah.
No matter, you can bring back a lot of the same players, coaches. It just happens that way. So I think the Browns will still be a good defense, but being top 3 is tough. I'm kind of, if I had to choose, I'd want to be in the border, in between. I doubt, and I think. But that's why it's a tough thing. I'd have to go. I doubt with Jason. You going? I think.
I'm going what I know.
Wow.
Stand on some business, Tyvis. Okay.
Because I'm sick of the disrespect around.
Oh, I'm sure that the chat is going bananas. How Jason and I hate the Browns.
Yeah,
We're
no,
negative
I'm gonna say
all the time.
I'm gonna say I know because I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Denzel won't miss that many games next year.
How many did he miss?
What did he miss? 3?
He's good for 3
He
years.
misses 3 every year.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he gonna miss
Maybe
just
he misses
one.
Maybe he misses the right 3.
He gonna miss just one game.
Against the scrubby, the few
No,
scrub teams you're playing.
I do think that they're gonna spend this offseason trying to figure out, how to be better defensively. I think they have a really good defensive scheme that everybody understands, but the problem is the quarterbacks for other teams, especially those veteran quarterbacks, they recognize what's coming. So I think this year they're going to be more so in disguises to try to confuse it. Mm-hmm. My only concern with the pass defense, because, the rush and the pass tie together, is I need to know who that other defensive end is going to be next year. That's a big key piece.
Well, we're getting to that.
If that guy is important, if it's a guy that's coming in that's productive, I think that ultimately helps the pass defense because our corners are really good, especially in the first 15 yards of a play. They're really good in first 15. Like if a route is more than 15 and it's not Denzel, I get kind of concerned. But anything outside of that, I think these guys are really good. So I'm going to say I know from that standpoint because I'm going on a leap of faith that defensive end that they get opposite of Myles will be productive.
All right.
All right, Tyvis, you're up next.
You should kind of ask my next one because that relates to what Tyvis just said. But
it does, but I think Tyvis can get a little spicy here. Tyvis, Nick Chubb will rush for 1,125 yards in 2024.
Wow.
I know, I think, I doubt.
My name is now Tyvis Lloyd because I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it for the simple fact, not because I doubt Nick Chubb. I doubt it because I don't think he'll play in 17 games. And then when he comes back, I think he's going to be on a pitch count, which is going to slow him down. I just don't think he's going to get to 1,100 yards in that next season. I think he could get to 900, 800 or something like that. But I think he'll be splitting carries, and it'll take him a while to fully get back. And that's going to mess up his numbers in the long run.
I don't know if they're going to run it enough to get him to 1,100, even if he is healthy.
What Deshaun say on that podcast? We going to throw the ball. So we'll see.
6 years in the league, 3 times he's been over 1,100. You would think that's like automatic for him.
All right, let's think about it this way, guys. How many games, what's our best guess as to how many games Nick Chubb plays this year? 14?
I was going to say 13 to
13
14.
games.
13 to 14. You say 12?
Around, yeah, something like that. 12. No, it's 17 games in the season.
So let's say 13. I mean, let's say
Let's say first month.
Okay. So how many carries do we think he's going to average per game?
In what game?
Okay. Well,
because like in the first couple,
let's say the first month.
15.
What's that?
15 per game.
I like
15 per game for the year. So 13 times 15 is 195 carries. Let's say in those carries he's as good as he was. Let's say average, which is what, almost 6 yards a carry
Just
for
give
him?
him 6 yards a carry for the sake of argument.
I was going to say 5, but go ahead.
Let's split the difference, 5.5. So 195 times 5.5 is 1,072. What's the number?
1,125.
Wow. I'm gonna have to say I doubt.
I mean, he did all that just to say
I mean, he's gonna have probably around 200 carries to get there, and it's gonna be hard for him to get 200 carries. Now, if he might be the next Adrian Peterson. Because he's that kind of player.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
I agree with you.
If you told me Nick Chubb was going to play 17 games, I'd say 100% he gets there. But I don't think he's going to play 17 games. But he's such a freak, I'm changing my mind. I think he's getting there. I'm flip-flopping. I think.
Stand on business. Say I know. Stand on business. Say I know.
So what was the number? 1125?
I don't want to get that crazy.
1125?
1125.
Yeah. So 15 games times 15 carries times 5 yards a carry is exactly 1125.
Yeah.
There's a reason these numbers are what they are.
Yeah, all right.
Record. I'm not
Good
just
job.
pulling this out of my
So what are you saying?
booty.
I'm saying I think. That's what I'm
the
going.
Grinch.
Okay, so you with
All right,
me.
there I doubt, and I might think. Go ahead, last one.
I pull you up for the last one.
I'll wear
here.
that Grinch as a badge of honor.
There you go.
Last one. A Brown not named Myles Garrett will finish the 2024 season with double-digit sacks.
You know where I stand.
You know where I stand too. That ain't happening.
I said I doubt.
You did say I doubt.
And let me give you this stat, guys. In the last 3 seasons, there's obviously 32 teams, so that's essentially 96 teams over 3 years.
Yep.
Of the 96 NFL teams in the last 3 years, how many of those 96 have had 2 players with 10 or more sacks?
2.
14.
14 to
8.
All right, Jason was the closest. It's 10. So 10 out of 96, which is about 10%, okay? Now, I had to look at it even deeper. Most of those 10, of the 10 that had the 2 guys with double-digit sacks, 6 of those 10 had 2 guys that were like 10 and 11, 11 and a half, 10 and a half. I said, how many teams had a guy like Myles Garrett with 14 or more sacks and the second guy with 10 or more?
Philly
Philly
last
is
year.
4. Now, Philly had 4
I
guys,
say
Philly
Philly
had
was
crazy numbers.
ridiculous.
which is crazy. Besides Philly, there's only been 3 teams in the last 3 years that have had a guy with 14 or more sacks and a second guy with 10 or more.
Seattle.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was, I think
Niners?
San Fran did it
Yeah,
one year.
yeah.
I don't remember the other 2.
How
But
far did you go
there's been
back?
4 total,
How far did you go back?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years?
It was Philly, I think San Francisco. I think it was a surprise team. Like maybe
Titans.
Jacksonville this past year
Jacksonville, yeah.
had a guy.
Josh
what's his
Allen.
name?
Josh Allen had.
Josh Allen had like 15, 16. They had somebody else that had 10, I think.
I'll pull it up
So
right
the
now.
odds of having a guy like Myles get 14 or more and a second guy have 10 is very slim. Doesn't happen often. The Browns have never done it, right? Clowney got 9.5.
Yeah, 9, yeah.
Trayvon Walker had 10 for the Jaguars.
Right.
Trayvon Walker had 10 sacks
Number
last
1 overall pick 2 years ago.
I don't think. Does anybody think the Browns have a player on their roster currently capable
right
of 10
now.
sacks besides Myles?
Double O.
Could
Alex
JOK.
I was just gonna say
JOK.
I was thinking
How
that
many
through.
sacks did JOK
That's
have?
what I was thinking of.
3.5.
But 10 to jump to 10.
I just think that it's
It's
there.
possible.
It's there
It's
with
possible.
him. If you
Well,
maybe pick a guy on the current roster right now to do it, it'd
Yeah.
be JOK.
My question is, what position is he playing next year?
Wasn't he doing the same thing he did this
I
year?
have to do the exact
Was he
same
playing
thing.
outside or was he playing Mike?
He was playing outside.
He was
wasn't
outside, yeah.
So who's gonna play Mike?
Taki.
I assume they
Is
bring
he-
Taki back.
Okay, I'm just asking because if they moved him to Mike,
I think
So
it'd be a
ultimately,
mistake.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Let
unless
him do exactly what he did this year. That's a
unless the
perfect role for him.
Browns trade for another top-notch pass rusher, I don't see it happening. And I doubt they will do that because I think the first priority is getting that extra really good receiver. But
No, because if they traded for another top pass rusher and took a receiver in the second round, I'll be okay with that.
right, well, that's if they don't blow it for once with their wide receiver draft
Be
picks. But it's possible.
I'm David Bell, 1,000 yards next year.
No chance.
We're going to do our boldest predictions next week. So, Tyvis,
All right,
I'll make
go
sure I
ahead,
get you
Mike.
to send it in. Guys, tonight, 5 o'clock, the Ultimate 216 makes its live show debut. Earl taped episode 1 today. He's back for episode 2, and he will be doing it live. Make sure y'all tune in at 5 o'clock on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show channel. The link's already up. Click the notify me button so you get an alert when he goes live, but that should be going out right at 5 o'clock. Yesterday, Bull, you and I had a chance to sit down with Guardians outfielder Steven Kwan. Do you want to set up the interview, and we'll toss to our conversation with Mr. Kwan?
Kwan is a guy we all like. Obviously, he's been a tremendous one of the few bright spots for the team last year. And we got into a bunch of things with him, including potential contract extension, his ability to play center field, which he did a little as a rookie, but not at all last year. That and a whole lot more. Enjoy this conversation that Mike and I had with Steven Kwan. Great to have Steven Kwan with us. So, Steven, I wanted to start with this because you're out in Arizona, spring training. It's beautiful. We're stuck in the cold weather here in Cleveland. I know you're a Bay Area guy. When the season starts and you come from Arizona and you come to Cleveland and what it's like in April often with terrible weather, there's always talk about it being such a tough adjustment. How do you find that? Is it really as tough as people make it out to be, playing in that often awful weather in April?
Yeah, it's not very fun. I mean, I think the one that gives me comfort is that we're all dealing with it. So obviously if I'm cold, then the other team's cold as well. I had my off season in Chicago, and it's pretty similar to Cleveland in that regard. So I think I'm trying to learn to play in the cold, embrace the cold. But especially, when you're in Arizona and it's super warm, going to the cold is the last thing you want to do.
Coming into your third season now, Steven, what are some of the things that you have kind of taken a bigger focus in to improve your game from 2022 to 2023 and now 2023 to 2024?
Yeah, so that first offseason, 22 to 23, I just remember being super wide-eyed. Like, we had a great season. Playoffs didn't go how we wanted, but we still made playoffs when we really weren't supposed to. So I remember when the season ended, like, I was just so relieved to be done, took some vacation, took some time off, was just enjoying being a big leaguer. And then next thing I know is, like, middle of December, and I'm like, oh, gosh, I need to get this ramped up. Came into spring a little behind, and we regulated, but it wasn't really where I wanted to be. So having this 23 to 24 year, I think my mindset was a lot better, a lot sharper. Started like October, kind of took 2 weeks off, mental break, but then got right back to it. And I feel like I'm in a way better spot this year than I was last year at the same time.
Steve, a lot of old school baseball people and fans see these advanced statistics like WAR and whatever, and they're like, "What? I don't understand that. I don't know what you mean." As a player, like I recently, we've seen like your war for your first 2 years as a left fielder. You're up there with some like all-time great players. Do you? I love advanced stats. I try not to be old school. Are players in general and you specifically, do you pay attention to all of that information?
I think, yeah, we do pay attention to it, but more like after the year's over. Because I think with any stat, if you're looking at it throughout the year and, you know, one game you see it go up and then the next game you see it go down, like that's going to really get in your head. So like during the year, I don't really like to look at those advanced stats as much, but I think they tell a really good picture at the end of the year and you can kind of dissect like what went well, what didn't. It's cool. It's definitely a cool way to kind of tangibly put like an idea of like where you were during the year. So yeah, for me, I like it.
Stephen, I know in the big leagues you've mostly played left field. I don't think you played center or right at all last year. Is that correct? I know you did as a rookie, but I can't.
Yeah,
I don't think, right? You only played left. So I think you played about 30 innings in center field, period, in the big leagues, give or take. A lot of people have asked me, because I'm a big baseball guy, can Steven Kwan play center field if it were necessary for you to play every day? And I always say yes. But I'll ask you, do you think you would be as good? You're an elite left fielder. You won Gold Glove 2 years in a row. Do you think you'd be as good in center in the big leagues as you are in left?
I think that's a tough one to say. I think like confident. I kind of have to say that I would be as good, right? Just to kind of believe in my own. But yeah, it's definitely different. I think it'd be pretty close, but I think as a team that kind of hurts us in a way because now I have to adjust to learn how to play center field, and then somebody else has to adjust to learn how to play left. And you know, there's learning curves with all of that, growing pains, and you know, it might work out, but the same thing, it might not. So I know Tito at least was very comfortable. You know, if somebody's stick to the spot and they're doing well, leave them there, even if they may play a different position better than somebody else. Like you stick to what's working and what's been rolling. Obviously, Vogt, I'm sure will have a different kind of mindset, but yeah, that's kind of where I feel with it.
You mentioned Tito and Vogt, which was my next question anyway. But you spent your first 2 years in the pros with a future Hall of Famer, a legend, in Terry Francona. You move on to Stephen Vogt now, who's making his managerial debut this season. It's early, and you guys have barely gotten to Arizona. But what are some of the little differences you've noticed from your early conversations with Stephen Vogt that just are a little different and maybe different way of thinking than how Terry did it for the last, 3 decades in the MLB, which worked, but, you know, new year, new era, new mindset is always, or change is always, not always a bad thing.
Yeah, I think mindset is kind of hard to see still. I talked to him on the phone a couple times. He seems really genuine, really cool. Yeah, not a dig towards Tito, but I think the biggest thing that I realize is different is you see Vogt everywhere walking around. He's all up in the field. He's in the dugout. He's chirping a little bit. Tito was very sensitive when he would come out to the field and kind of make his presence known. It's cool, though. It's cool just kind of seeing Vogt everywhere pop up, analyzing, of course, but just kind of being one of the guys. So that's been really cool so far. And it helps further his thing, be a player's coach.
The fact that he was playing 2 years ago, like in your rookie season, have you guys talked about that at all? That he literally was on the field with you guys 2 years ago. Now he's leading a ball club in this capacity.
Yeah, no, it's wild. We've made jokes like we had a scouting report on him 2 years ago. Like that's still out. It's cool though. I think it's a unique angle that he'll still have the mindset of being a player, but obviously now he's in this coaching role. I think that's going to be super different. I think that angle is going to lend itself really well. So again, it's going to be great in these next coming weeks, but yeah, haven't seen it develop yet.
Steve, I really wanted to commend you because I think a lot of athletes in general, not just baseball players, are afraid to be vulnerable, are afraid to say, hey, I'm a human, I'm flawed just like anybody else. I was listening to you when you were on MLB radio a couple weeks ago, whenever it was, and I thought it was a fascinating interview, and you talked about how when you were a freshman in college, you had imposter syndrome. And I was blown away by that because I feel like a lot of players probably experienced that but would be afraid to admit it. And the fact that you were not afraid and you were bold and confident in yourself to admit that, I think can help young athletes that may have been scared that they were feeling that way and may have been afraid to talk about it. And maybe because you, a professional athlete, talked about it publicly, that maybe they will be able to talk about it with a friend or a therapist or whoever. So I wanted to commend you on that. I thought that was really impressive. It was fascinating to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, that's super kind of you to say, first off. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I had a coach tell me also, like, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be real, look yourself in the mirror and understand what's going on. I think a lot of sports in general, it's a lot of like pride, ego, like, I'm going to suppress my feelings and hopefully I just work through it. And that might work for people that are like super talented and super toolsy, but I didn't have those kind of gifts. I had to really come to terms with a lot of those things, understand it. And I think when you identify them, you can work through it. So I think it's super important. I think just being a great athlete, but then also being a good person. If you can handle those things as a person, I think the sports will follow.
Who is the current best chess player on the Guardians? Is it you? Is it Tristan? I mean, is there a wild card out there somewhere? Who's the champ right now?
So I think the general consensus is me, but so we have a tournament next week, and we've been kind of training in the locker room. I've been times. Bo got me a couple times. We got a guy, Daniel Schneeman. He's gotten me a couple times. It's going to be a good tournament, but I think general consensus is me right now, but I think I'm slowly falling off that pedestal. So I got to get back in the lab and start grinding again.
Any talk? I know you got to be careful about what you say, but I'll throw it out there anyway. Are you interested in conversations about an extension at this point, and have you had any conversations about it?
Yeah, I'm always open. I mean, I love Cleveland. I love the area. People love the Midwest. I love everything about it. Yeah, none of the talks have come up yet, but it's early. We'll see what happens, but it could be something really exciting that comes up.
Steve Becker, I'm also always interested in having extension talks if you want to extend my contract as well. Steven, last year, almost this exact time last year, we had Will Brennan on, and I started the Will Brennan for 2023 MVP campaign. I was fighting the good fight, and then material changes happened. It didn't work out. I think he got robbed. Shohei, it was really Will Brennan's award.
It was close.
It was close.
Yeah.
So, Steven, I want to present this opportunity to you. I will be the champion, the campaign manager of the Steven Kwan 2024 AL MVP award. If you want it, first off, do you accept? I will be your champion and campaign manager for that award campaign if you accept. And there's only one caveat. Did he freeze? No.
Yeah.
Okay, except just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
We need the opportunity to come back to a Cleveland Guardians game and throw out the first pitch again. We did it in 2022, and Curtis snubbed us in 2023.
He did snub.
But I will champion and campaign for you to win AL MVP. I'll attack anyone on Twitter who says a single bad word about you. If you can get Curtis, let us throw out a first pitch again in 2024.
You really put that on him?
Yeah. That can't be a hard little thing. As long as Kelsey doesn't want to come in and throw that first pitch, I'm sure we can get that done.
Beautiful. We did it in 2022. Jay was the only one that could throw the pitch, though. I want my chance to throw a pitch as well.
Steven, I'm curious. Like, as fans, the fans are a little frustrated because the team, there are very few additions made to the team, right? You traded for Scott Barlow, which is a sneaky, nice move. I like him out of the pen. You brought back Austin Hedges, who everybody loves, and looks like our director. But that's it. And obviously, the one area specifically that you guys were lacking last year was power. You guys finished last in the league in home runs. Yeah, I mean, you got young guys. Maybe Bo Naylor's going to hit some home runs. Maybe Kyle Manzardo, if he gets a chance, is going to hit some home runs. But as a fan base, the fans are like, well, where are we going to get the home runs? Are you confident that you guys have the players there that can pick up the home run total? And do you share any frustration that the team didn't really spend much money this offseason?
Yeah, no, I think we got the tools that we need. And I think it's probably cliche, and we've heard it a bunch of times, but I mean, home runs don't always equate to, total offense. I think we have a lot of guys that can do multiple things. And I think, I do think the home runs are going to increase with different players. I think we have a lot of guys that are maturing and figuring the league out. I think we got the pieces that we need. Obviously, new coaching, that'll be good to kind of manage between, but I think we have our pieces. I think we had a down year last year. We were kind of just expecting to roll through things. I think getting our butts kicked a little bit and having some failure as a team, that's going to be really big to ignite that fire.
Last one for me, Steven, and this is not a silly question, but it's a serious one that I'm curious about that may have a silly answer. Is there any, if you end up going in a slump we hear about players having superstitions, slump busters to knock them out of a slump. Mark Teixeira back with the Yankees always wore a gold thong when he was in a slump, and I can't imagine players are doing that now, but do you have any slump busters up your sleeve in case you ever fall into those situations, or a superstition you do to get yourself back on track if things don't go your way for a couple
but
of
that's
games?
not a real slump buster is something we can't talk about on the air, but go.
Well, I'm trying to be PG. We're a family television show here, Bull.
Let me think. I don't want to be that boring answer, but I try to stay away from the superstition because, like, college, I definitely overdid it. That's probably why I was so bad. But I mean, I tried everything in college, and I think transitioning to being a little more mature in the big leagues, I try not to let those things affect. Just stick to the routine that you trust. I guess if I had to choose something, like, we get these, like, for like Father's Day or like big holidays, we get new socks, and they're just so soft out of the package. And if I fall into a little hole of hitting, I'll just get a new pair of socks. I want something nice and soft on my feet. They get a little torn up in the washer. I wish I had something better for you, like a golden thong.
What were the college ones, Steven? What were some of the ones freshman year of college that didn't end up working out?
Oh my gosh, same cereal, same path to like my class before the game, walk home the same way. It was outrageous.
Steven,
couldn't talk during the day. It was crazy.
Best and your favorite and least favorite stadiums to play in, besides Cleveland.
Favorite's probably Fenway because I get to play in front of the monster and left. I mean, that's just iconic. It's super cool. The history there is awesome. Least favorite is probably, so a lot of people would say Oakland, but I'm from the Oakland area, and I think the stadium's super charming, so I like Oakland. I think the worst one for me would be Tampa. And my extra caveat is a day game because that roof is like translucent. You can kind of see through it, but not completely through. But if the sun's above it, it blends in with the ball, and it's not fun. Like, I talk to Myles all the time. I don't know how Kevin Kiermaier won a platinum glove there. I couldn't see a dang thing out there. So that guy is a real stud. But
you're in a bar. You don't strike me as a bar fight type of guy. But in theory, if you were in a bar fight and you could only take one of your teammates to fight with you, who you taking?
Oh, definitely Josh. Not. And I will say, yep, there's the picture right there. You guys already knew. I will say, Josh is actually, like, contrary to what he's just on the field, like, he's a huge teddy bear, but, like, if you wrong one of the boys or him, you disrespect any of us, like, then he turns into a demon. So I would follow that man. If you guys asked that question, if you had to survive on an island, I'd probably pick him. That man does it all, but I don't want it to get mixed up that he's just this, like, rage monster all the time. He's like a traditional Canadian, super nice.
And what about if you were doing a comedy show? Who's your leading act? Who's the funniest guy on the team?
Probably Myles. Myles is just a fool. I think he would just, you never know what's going to come out. He's so good at just, like, running with something. His improv is pretty good. He's got to be up there. Hedges might be up there too. He's more of an act guy, but those are two strong ones I would go with.
I know you got to run, so this will be the last one, and we'd be remiss. Our director does look just like Austin Hedges, but you guys got him back this offseason. How nice is it to have Austin back with you guys? And we know from everyone we've spoken to, he is the epitome of the ultimate clubhouse guy.
Yeah, no, he was huge. So his first day was yesterday. I didn't see him in the morning, but later in the day we had live ABs. And I'm walking to the plate, and all of a sudden I just hear someone from the bullpen yell, "Bring the outfield in." I was like, who's chirping me in live ABs? Like, there's no defenders, obviously, and I didn't reply, so he yelled it again. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's really doing it. So he made his presence known real early. But I mean, like, Alex heard that. He got a couple laughs. I mean, I think that's the kind of glue that you need as a team. Just keep everybody close and loose, but, still giving everybody a hard time. It's going to be a fun year with it for sure.
Steven, we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, man.
We're big fans of yours, and we're hoping the Guardians have a great season, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I really appreciate the time, guys. Talk soon, I'm sure.
All right, great chatting with Steven Kwan. Real down, we're interviewing him, but we had a chance. Mike and I had a chance to talk to him before we started the interview for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Very nice, down to earth guy.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Mike told the story off the air about how Mike and his girlfriend were at a bar. I won't say what. I guess I won't say what it was. Was that in the interview? No.
What?
That wasn't in the interview.
It wasn't in the interview. You can say it. It doesn't matter.
I don't want to do it. But anyway, they were in a bar, and Steven Kwan was sitting at the next table, and nobody was even noticing him, right?
No, I mean, I knew who he was. I wasn't going to say anything, but not a single person there knew who he was.
I made the point to him, and he's like, you're right. I'm like, unless you're Aaron Judge, basically, baseball players aren't getting noticed at restaurants for the most part.
Very, very rarely.
Because they look like normal people.
Yeah. NBA players and NFL players tend to stick out a little bit.
It depends. I mean, like, Tyvus looks like a normal person. You know.
Congratulations, you're normal.
That's all I wanted to be in my life. I just wanted to be labeled as normal.
Tyvus, you don't stand out like, you know, you're not 7 feet tall. You're not 300 pounds.
Tyvus is a big dude.
No, he's a big dude. But he doesn't.
I don't know if it comes across on the show how big he is.
He is certainly a big dude, but he's not even like G. Bush big. No. G. Bush is like the size of a house.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm getting up there in weight.
But it was great talking with him. Very down to earth guy, nice guy. Obviously, he's got to believe the lineup's not good enough, but he's not going to say that. I'm not going to hold his feet to the fire.
What would you do if he said that? You like?
Oh, that would have been awesome.
To be honest, we suck. Yeah, we need to get some bats in our line.
It was funny because I'm listening to MLB radio this morning, and they were talking about the Cubs this morning, and Steve Phillips was saying, well, they don't have one big time power hitter because they haven't re-signed Bellinger yet. The expectation is they will eventually, but they haven't. And Eddie Perez, who's doing the show with him, he's like, yeah, but they got a bunch of guys who can hit 20, 25 home runs. And he named like 5 or 6 guys because the Cubs really they don't have one elite power hitter, but they got a bunch of like decent power hitters.
Must be nice.
And I'm thinking, man, the Guardians have like one guy that can hit 20 home runs.
Jose?
We take a whole bunch of 20 home runs.
Two?
They have 2.
Josh Naylor.
Has Naylor ever hit 20? I don't think
so.
No,
but he could.
He could, but like, that's a stretch.
Listen,
Bo Naylor.
What's that?
I've heard a report that Myles Straw's coming into camp 50 pounds heavier. Power hitter.
You're ready to pull the jersey. You're ready to pull the jersey. Are you on for every home run he hits, you'll wear the jersey again? Myles Straw. It's upstairs.
We still have your Myles Straw jersey upstairs.
Ramirez, if he's healthy, he'll hit 20. I agree with Jason. Naylor's got a shot to hit 20.
Both Naylors.
He missed time last year. Bo Naylor could hit 20, but it's unlikely.
Probably not this year.
I mean, there's not that many catchers that hit 20. It's essentially his rookie year.
Manzardo eventually, but I don't think
got
this year.
But he's not a. Even though he's still a project power-wise.
Jimenez ain't a home run hitter.
Jimenez,
he can't get you at least
He'll be
15.
in that 20 range.
He could.
In the range.
They got a handful of guys that are 15 to 20 guys.
Yeah, Jimenez I would put in that 15 to 17.
But again, and they're not going to have an outfielder hit 20 yet again, unless they make Laureano ain't hitting 20.
No.
Steven
We'll
Kwan,
bring him back.
You know who will hit 20?
Who?
Nolan Jones.
All right, that hurts. So we're gonna ask everyone out there one more time. If you're watching the show, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Do us a favor. Make sure you tune in to Earl tonight, 216 show, 5 o'clock, the Ultimate Brown Show with G, coming up tomorrow. And as always, if you don't catch the show live, you can check us out on podcast as well. We got 2 super chats, then we're gonna wrap up the show here. Matthew Dinkins said, "If I remember, Bill Simmons had Evan Mobley ranked in the top 5 last year. Quite a drop off." I'll double check. I'm not sure if that is accurate or not, but I know he was much higher on Evan before this season. And second, Sly says Berry needs to call Casey. How do you pronounce the GM? Kwesi, excuse me. AB needs to call Kwesi and poach Justin Jefferson. They don't have a quarterback to throw him the ball.
Why would they do
your
that?
Old team a solid. That's not going to happen, Sly. But it's a great idea.
By the way, you don't have a first-round pick to trade. Even if by some chance the Vikings are willing to trade him.
After you call Minnesota and poach Justin Jefferson, call Kansas City and poach Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, come on.
And now we're talking.
First of all,
Kansas City's tired of losing.
You'd have to trade 2 first-round picks to get Jefferson. You don't have a first-round pick.
And then they will have the Jimmy rule. You can trade those first-round picks.
And I'm sure that guy would say, well, we'll trade him a first-rounder next year. Well, if Justin Jefferson were, in a crazy world, on the market, there'd be plenty of teams willing to give up a first-round pick for him this year.
Yeah. All right, Bull. Yep. Last topic. You can lead us into it.
So, guys, we all heard the news about what happened in Kansas City yesterday. There was a parade. Everything was great. It was going well. Everybody's having fun, except for the rest of the fans around America. And at the end of the parade, there was an incident, a shooting incident, in which one adult died, and I don't remember the exact number of people that got injured, 20-something.
22.
Including, I believe, 8 or 9 children. Now, I did read this morning, thankfully, that all the children that are in the hospital are expected to fully recover, which is great news. But even if they do fully recover, they're scarred for life.
Yes. Sure.
Everybody that was near this event was scarred for life. Now, I don't want to say it's good news. It's news that the report came out today that this apparently was not what has been the case in most of these shootings, is somebody was planning to go to the parade and shoot people up. Apparently that was not the case here. Apparently this was a beef between 2 guys. Mike was just telling me about this during the Kwan interview. It was a beef between 2 guys that turned into a shootout, and there was collateral damage. I'm not saying that makes it any better. I don't know. I got some thoughts, guys, but I already introed it. So if you guys want to share any thoughts you may have, I don't know.
I just hate that.
Like, are you worried? How worried are you for your kids? Whether it's school, parades going forward. Oh, you got little kids, Jason. You got 3 kids.
That's just how we are in America nowadays. You always worry. They like teaching that in class now in schools, that when a shooting happens, what to do. So it's unfortunate that that's where we're at. I just hate the fact that it's just another one of those incidents where how can you go be at a place where everybody's there for the same reason? We're all there to celebrate our favorite team winning the championship. How, in the midst of you're supposed to be happy, does that lead to y'all shooting? That's the part that I don't understand. Like, what happened that was that bad that you thought, forget everybody around me right now. I'm mad at this guy, and I want to take my frustration out on this guy or girl. Like, what are you thinking about? Like,
They're
why?
Not, obviously.
Yeah, like, clearly. So if you know you got a temper or something like that, you got to do a self-check and say, I can't handle being around people like that. Because what you think is, in the midst of trying to get that one person, you don't realize that you're putting everybody else in jeopardy. So if you know you got a temper like that, or you can't handle a certain situation or de-escalate a situation properly, then you might need to remove yourself from that, because now you're ruining moments, things that we don't know if Kansas City, we think Kansas City will win multiple championships from here on out, but what if that's the last one? Like, that's what their lasting memory will be, that our parade got shut down because of a shooting. Like, it's just people got to start being aware of the situations and stop ruining good moments. It seems like every time you out there having the best time of your life, something bad happens every single time, and it's annoying. It's like, that's why people don't go nowhere no more. You got to sit in the house now.
Jason?
It's numbing. It's just numbing. And when you talk about kids and sending the kids out, every single morning, I got a 13-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. Every single morning, I give them a hug and a kiss, and I tell them I love them. And I'm telling you, there's this thought in the back of my head. I watch them walk out the door, and I pray to God that they come home to me. Yeah. How insane is that this is the world that we live in? Yeah. But every single morning, I watch them walk out the same door, and I pray that they come home. And it's just numbing at this point.
Yeah, I think you'll experience this when your kids go to school, unfortunately. I have the same thought when I drop off my son. I take him to school every day, and I'm like, who knows if this is the day. The school he goes to, there's a police officer that's there every day, which is good, but, who the hell knows? We've seen other situations where there's been a police officer and it still hasn't gone well. Yeah. And, I mean, the sad part is no matter what we say, no matter what anybody says, everybody goes on Twitter and says whatever they say, nothing's going to change. It's not a simple fix, obviously, to this problem. People want to say it's this, it's this, it's this. It's not one thing. It's a lot of things. Yes, there is a gun problem. There are too many guns in America. Nobody's trying to take away shotguns from hunters. Nobody's trying to do that. But it would make sense that guns where you can, shoot 100 people at once, and I know nothing about guns, should at the very least be harder to get. It seems like common sense. Shouldn't be political. I don't understand. I don't understand why some topics have become political. Don't we all, no matter who we vote for, no matter what our beliefs are, want our kids to be safe?
Absolutely.
And there's other issues. Some of these people have mental problems, and the way our healthcare system sucks. But there's a reason why there's more gun deaths in America per capita than any civilized country in the world. It's because we have more guns than every civilized country in the world. That's just it. That's the biggest part of it. It's certainly not the only part of it, but I mean, come on, we got to all keep. Can we be together on something? That kids getting shot, that people getting killed for no reason is wrong. But, you know, I'm spitting in the wind. Nothing's going to change. Politicians are in it for their pocketbooks, and they care about nothing else. So it's sad. I know you getting emotional. I feel the same way. I worry about it. I go to a restaurant, and I think about the emergency exits. I actually have these thoughts. I'm like, somebody comes in here with a gun. What the hell are we going to do?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about the Cavs game last night. Now you have metal detectors that you have to walk through. So hopefully that would sniff anything out. But there's 20,000 people in there.
You never know.
And when I was at the Super Bowl, and I think I've mentioned this before, and I covered the Super Bowl in 2019, the Patriots and Rams, and the amount of people shoulder to shoulder on the streets in Atlanta. There was a heavy police presence, but you look around and think it just takes one guy, and there's 50 people dead like that.
I never know. Sad day. Hopefully something will change, but I doubt it. All right, more on overtime coming up next.
In a minute. Peace.